Clap sync in 3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Critical Podcast. This is the MCU episode. We are going to be ranking every movie in the MCU. We'll do the shows maybe another time because there's so many of them and a lot of them are bad. I haven't even seen all of them. He hasn't seen none of them. And for context, I've seen every MCU movie as they came out.
And this was my first time viewing the MCU like entirely.
So
because
there's no biasness,
Nope.
no biasnesses or nothing. All fresh opinions. And I'd like to think we just watched all these movies and we rewatched the ones that we forgot a lot of things about so we could know we had more to talk about. So I feel like we're going to have very fresh and pretty factual opinions in my opinion. I think we're going to have some pretty good
There were a
takes
couple
here.
we rewatched because we felt like we didn't know a lot about. So we went ahead and rewatched them.
And we enjoyed them more than we thought.
Yeah, I had to move a lot of movies up and down. I've been working on my list for quite a while. We've been working on this episode for a while.
Yes, this is going to be the best episode.
Ever since the Spider-Man ranking episode is when we've been started working on this episode. Whoops.
No, you're good. So I just want to say about the MCU before we'll get into the ranking very, very quickly, but I just want to say for having 33 movies, it's amazing none of them really feel repetitive. I feel like even the worst movie has something new to bring to the table where it's different. All these movies are pretty different. Like when we binged all these movies in like almost 2 months and like never did I get the feeling was it like repetitive or anything.
Yeah.
Obviously, I think a lot of these movies are very subpar or pretty bad, but there is some great movies in this franchise. And so what do you think of the MCU? As a new viewer watching every single movie, what do you think?
For 33 movies, I think they did a fantastic job with most of them. I know a lot of I've never been a superhero fan like at all. The closest thing I've gotten to liking superheroes as a kid was Power Rangers. And I've only watched a couple, mostly like phase 2 movies, I think, as growing up. And I thought, okay, yeah, they're all right, but I don't care to see more. And watching these movies for the first time, I am so disappointed in myself that I never, as a kid, never wanted to see these movies because they're so good. And I'm kind of mad at you for not dragging me into this when we were in elementary school.
I don't know what was wrong with me. I grew up with these movies, but like when you're younger, you don't really you just either you like something. As a kid, you like most movies you watch. You don't really have. We're much older now, so we actually have opinions and. Our brains are much more developed than we were as kids. But like as a kid, I just enjoyed the movies as fun. I was like, oh, every kid must be going out watching Marvel movies. I just assumed you were. And now I'm glad I finally got you into them and we can finally talk about them after all these years. And there's definitely going to be some arguments in here because for the most part, we don't know how each other feel about a lot of these movies. We haven't talked about a lot of these movies on the podcast at all.
That's right.
So I feel like we're going to be disagreeing quite a bit in this one since there's a lot of movies, and I'm excited. You want to get into it?
First of all, I just want to say, again, I didn't want to watch all these movies. I only wanted to watch the good ones. Thank you for making me watch
of course,
some of the other ones that weren't so good because I actually ended up liking a few that you didn't. And if I didn't, then we'd have mostly the same opinions on a lot of these movies.
We agree on a lot of things on this in this podcast, but 33 movies, we're bound to disagree on some things, and it would be lame if we agreed on everything.
Definitely.
So I'm super hyped to get into this.
Yeah. I think we should get started. First of all, some background knowledge. We'll have the ranking on screen here.
So on the screen, you guys see our little ranking thing. We got 6 tiers, every movie in order. S tier, we're going to try to reserve for only like 9.5, 10 out of 10 movies. And then F tier will only be like reserved for the terrible movies. We're going to talk about all these movies in order. And then at the very end, give our list from worst to best. First, starting off with Phase 1. Iron Man.
Let's just talk about Phase 1 for a second.
Phase 1? How do you feel about Phase 1?
I think it is It is a very good phase. I think it's probably the second best phase in the MCU. Second best? No, third best.
It's my third best. Phase 1 and phase 2, phase 3 and phase 2. I think are obviously the two best ones, and then 1 is right after that.
3 number 1, 2 second. Yeah, definitely.
So Iron Man 3 Iron Man ratings.
All right,
3, 2, 1.
8.5 out of 10.
8.5.
Yeah.
So we know we've talked about this movie before. You're a little bit higher on this movie than me. Why do you like this movie so much?
This movie was just like it was a great opening, man. A great start to the MCU. I think I love Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man. It is so good. One of the best castings of all His
time.
Origin story, I think for Iron Man is amazing. I love the terrorist stuff. I love everything that goes down over there. So he's making weapons, and the terrorists got a hold of his weapons. And they take him. My favorite part is in the entire movie is when he constructs his suit.
Of course.
When he's supposed to be making the missile, and he comes out and destroys all the terrorists and everything. Probably not terrorists. I don't know what they are. Anyways, my favorite scene in the movie.
So
towards the end, I think it was a little.
Sorry.
I think towards the end, especially like maybe the villain wasn't the best villain, but I think it was a really good movie, and I personally loved it a lot.
So I really like this movie. It's what helps this movie. It's Marvel's first movie, so it's obviously very different, which helps it stand out from a lot of the other ones. This movie is a lot darker. A little bit it has like a way darker tone than most modern day MCU movies, and I like that. But like I think it gets a little bit too dark to the point where it gets
how it's like, just a movie made for adults. It's not like there's anything really that dark.
I mean, his whole heart surgery thing, like his whole backstory is pretty. Like the whole opening is just pretty. It gets like
it's pretty crazy.
It's
but
not like the horror or anything, but it's just like compared to like a movie like Multiverse of Madness, where what happens.
Because it's Disney, they were making it for kids and all that stuff.
It's just the Marvel used to be way different back then, and I like of course, the opening is great, the Iron Man. I think the very start of the movie is a little bit choppy. I think it's a little bit messy, but once it like stops flashbacking for a little bit and it gets like it gets to the part where he's building the suit and everything. Yeah. And then the Jensen guy, I forgot his name. He's helping him and everything.
Oh yeah, I really love that character. That. Yeah.
And then I think it starts to fall off a little bit after towards when it gets to the part when Iron Man gets out. Like that whole opening thing was so good, and it's just like the rest of the movie is kind of eh. I like the montage of him building the Mark II for the first time, like the all gray armor.
That's a great montage for sure.
Him flying it in the air and then it going out. There's a lot of great stuff in the movie, like you said.
I love this. I love when he's testing the Mark II suit. He goes up in the air and he freezes, and he ends up using that to his advantage later in the end fight.
Yeah, it's cool, but like you said, I don't think Ironmonger, I'm forgetting Obadiah Stane, I believe. I don't think he's a great villain. I think he's fine though, definitely not the worst, just definitely nowhere near the best.
Yeah, I agree with you.
The whole final fight isn't really, but it's a superhero movie, so you gotta have that big epic fight at the end. I don't think it's that strong, obvious, but the movies get better. I think at the time it was obviously really good, but I think just since we've gotten so much great action stuff since then, it's just maybe that's why I don't like it as much. And him flying him into space, it's cool. I like things about Iron Man. It's just not a perfect movie,
Yeah, I think it holds up perfectly even today, honestly. But where would we rank it? I'm personally leaning towards A.
A? Yeah, I would go I would probably lean more towards C or B. But
not C at all.
Yeah, I think we can meet at B. I think a B is a good spot.
All right, yeah, that's fine. That's gonna probably be in a higher B. Oh, okay, we'll do this too. Should we? Okay, let's say we have a bunch of movies in the B category. Should we have the higher movies in the B category be towards the left or the right?
The movies we like more towards the
Left.
ranking. Yeah, towards the
Okay.
left. So movies we like more will be put towards the left.
So in the rankings, in the B category, for example, the movies we like more will be towards the left, and the
Yeah,
movies
closer
we like
to the
less will be down the tier. All right,
You want to take us into The Incredible Hulk?
The Incredible Hulk. I think this is a very different.
Ooh, we got to do our ratings.
Oh, okay.
The Incredible Hulk review. I can't speak. The Incredible Hulk rating 3, 2, 1, 5 out of 10.
6 out of 10.
So, what were you saying?
I don't think this movie's that bad. I feel like this movie is very different from most MCU movies. It just has a very different atmosphere. And it honestly doesn't feel like an MCU movie.
No, not at
And
all.
especially since the actor for Hulk was changed later on.
Edward Norton.
I sometimes feel like this just shouldn't be an MCU movie. They should just include this movie
For a
from the
long
rest.
time, up until like phase 3, there was like, for the first 2 phases, when the Incredible Hulk was like in its early days, there was like firm believers that like it was not an MCU movie. Like there was so many people that
Yeah.
didn't think it was an MCU movie. How do you feel about Edward Norton as the Hulk?
I think he's a good Hulk, actually.
Better than Mark Ruffalo, the one we
no,
have now?
better, not better than Mark Ruffalo. Definitely not. I think the first part of this movie I actually like a lot when he's in whatever country he's in.
Yeah, the opening's pretty good.
Just seeing how he's living life, and I like how we don't have an origin story because you know Hulk. I mean, I didn't really know much about Hulk and his origin, but
But like it
It's-
doesn't
it's good
show
enough.
it, but it tells you.
Yeah.
Like it briefly tells you. It shows like glimpses and stuff. This movie's so I don't. How do you feel about people who think this is like one of the worst MCU movies? Like some
definitely
people
not.
think this
There's
is
so
terrible.
much more boring movies, especially later on towards the list that we'll be getting into.
Yeah.
But this movie is all right for its time.
Yeah, it's fine. It's super overhated. I don't think Abomination's that great of a villain.
Definitely
I think
not.
for like the first phase until Loki and the Avengers, I don't think they really had a strong villain. I guess Red Skull was fine. But Abomination's not great. And then the relationship between Hulk and the girl he
Never brought
likes-
up again.
Yeah, it's obviously never brought up, and then it's just not that great, not that interesting. I think for the time, the CGI is fine.
Yeah.
There's not really any CGI moments that take me out of it. I think Hulk looks cool.
I like how this started the trend of Hulk just plummeting to the ground whenever he wants to change into the Hulk.
Oh my god, one of my probably top 5 favorite scenes.
Ragnarok.
Oh my god, I can't wait to talk about Ragnarok. Top 5 MCU scenes is when Hulk just kicks that one guy and he just slams into the tree.
okay.
It is awesome. There's so much. This is a fun movie. It has a lot of issues. It's not great. What's like your biggest issue with this movie?
I feel like my biggest issue with this is just the atmosphere. Honestly,
Yeah, no, I was about to say essentially.
it doesn't feel like an MCU film. It's not that much of an exciting atmosphere. I feel like it just gives you kind of a little bit darker vibes.
It's just
not
a
very-
weird movie.
it's
but it's
weirder,
fun,
yeah.
But it's fun. It's fine. It's definitely not the worst. Where would you put it on the tier list?
I would go C. I think
would
D is
agree.
too low.
Yeah, D is too low. I would agree fine with C tier.
C tier it goes. All right.
Now, take us
Next on the list is Iron Man 2.
Iron Man 2.
All right, you ready for your rating?
Yes.
All right, 3, 2, 1, 3
4
out of 10.
So you're a little bit lower.
Yeah.
This movie's not great. This was one of the first MCU movies that I feel like was truly bad. I feel like it's kind of like a TASM movie situation where we like the TASM movies, obviously, but we can admit there's a lot of things wrong with them, and it's like there's over bloated. I feel like this movie's a little bit over bloated. I like the start of this movie, like, you know, the suitcase scene is awesome, and then that whole Whiplash fight at the race car thing is cool, but I don't think Whiplash is a great villain. They try to make him funny. I don't think he's very funny. I like the weird white guy. I don't remember his name. The guy with the white goofy guy with glasses, kind of like not the main villain, but you know, the guy setting everything up. I think he's pretty fun. The Pepper, I really hate in the comics, the alcoholism thing with Tony Stark is like one of like the biggest storylines with him, and I think they really fumble it in this movie. That alcoholism stuff in this movie isn't great. I think Tony Stark comes off as really annoying and unlikable in this movie.
I can
Not that
agree,
he's a bad actor. He plays Iron Man perfectly. He's
Oh yeah,
phenomenal. but
nobody
he's just-
else could take on the role of Iron Man. I think.
it's just not very. It's just not. This movie's not very funny. A lot of the CGI is just a little bit. But you know, that's just early MCU stuff.
I don't
How do you
remember
feel?
much from this movie because it was very boring. And for movies that are very boring, I don't tend to remember much.
And that's not a good thing. If
Yeah.
you're not remembering much from a movie, then obviously it's probably not that great.
In this movie, we're introduced to, let's see. Oh yeah, the new suit. I think the suit's pretty good, but that's pretty much all I remember. The villain. This movie used to come on TV like all the time.
Yeah, no, it still does.
I don't know why. Like, just play the first Iron Man or something.
Yeah, it's definitely the weakest of the Iron Man trilogy. It's just I don't think War Machine's. I like.
Oh
War
yeah,
Machine.
the War Machine plot.
I don't think
yeah.
he's that great, and it's like that's just kind of like filler trying to have like just feels like it's there to sell toys. You know, like you have another Iron Man fighting Iron Man.
Oh yeah,
and-
definitely. I had a toy of War Machine. Yeah.
But yeah, this movie's not great. It's definitely not the bottom of the barrel, but I would be leaning more towards a D tier.
Me too.
And he creates a new element in this movie, which is so stupid. There's just a lot of dumb things.
It's
in
not
this
F
movie.
tier. F tier is reserved for other ones.
Yeah, there's
but
way
D
worse
tier-
movies,
D tier
but
definitely.
there's good stuff in this movie, but it's mostly just bad. D tier, I think, is a good.
It was also the introduction of
Black
Natasha
Widow.
Romanoff.
Yeah, I think her introduction in that movie is particularly uninteresting. I don't really care for her in that movie.
No, I didn't even notice it was Black Widow when I was watching that movie.
You ready for Thor?
Yes.
Thor rating 3, 2, 1,
5
3
out of 10. Obviously, when we were watching this movie, I was higher on the rating than you were. I was arguing with you that it wasn't that bad.
This movie's terrible. I think this movie's really bad.
Wow.
I think Loki is my favorite MCU villain, and I think he's particularly uninteresting in this one.
Yeah.
I think the blue people and the blue people Loki are connected to are dumb. I think Selvig's bad in this movie. We're obviously introduced to one of the worst MCU characters, the annoying girl with glasses. What's her
Yeah,
name?
I hate her. Definitely my least
Darcy,
favorite.
I think. Yeah, she's terrible. I don't care for Thor and what's her name? Jane Foster. I don't care for Natalie Portman, Jane Foster, and their Thor and her relationship at all. The villain, the big metal guy that shoots out laser beams, I think is really stupid. I hate the sideways angles they constantly use in that movie. I think it looks so bad. And I just think this movie is so messy. I think it's really bad.
This was one of the first movies I watched in the series. Don't remember much from it, but I do remember that it wasn't that bad. I was enjoying the movie, actually, kind of. And definitely didn't really leave a mark, but it was something.
Yeah, it's just I don't like the comedy at all. I don't, Thor isn't really funny until Ragnarok. He was one of like the worst MCU franchises up until then.
Definitely.
It's just I can't remember, and obviously there's not much to talk about it because it's not very memorable. And it's not
exactly.
very memorable. It's just not very good, and I think this movie is terrible. You're a little bit higher though. Like, what's the thing you like about this movie? Or like,
now talking about it, I don't really remember that much that I liked, but I remember the feeling that I had, and I was enjoying it.
how do you feel about the relationship between Odin, Thor, and Loki in that movie? Because I think it's particularly good in the other ones, but I think it's really weak in that film.
Yeah, I'd say so too.
How do you feel about Jane Foster?
Jane Foster, I didn't really care about her. She was kind of like the romance interest in Hulk, I think.
What?
No, not like. I meant that in a way that it was just for that movie.
Yeah.
They were forgettable after that movie.
Yeah. Just Thor's not great. I'm surprised you're a little bit higher, but 5 out of 10 obviously isn't a great score. I think this is a D tier. Yeah, D tier is fair. And I think Iron Man 2 is a little bit better.
You might be right. I might have to lower that movie, honestly.
Thor's not that great.
All right, yeah,
I'm glad I could
I'll
convince you
allow
a
that.
little bit. Next one, thankfully we start getting into the really pretty good ones. Captain America: The First Avenger.
Yes, I know my rating for it. All right.
Captain America: The First Avenger. 3, 2, 1.
8 out of 10. Yes.
This movie's really good. I think this is one of the most, not that this movie is particularly hated, but I think it's really underrated.
Yeah, I saw the rating. It was like 69% on Rotten Tomatoes or something like that. It's crazy.
It introduces us to some great characters, like obviously Steve, your favorite MCU character.
Yeah, my favorite superhero in the MCU at least.
And then Bucky, of course. And then the Peggy and Steve relationship actually good.
I actually like it. The first romance that I actually really cared about.
And then Iron Man, you know, it's like he's not really kind of a superhero in those movies. Hulk, that, Thor, blah. Captain America is like one of the first like superhero movies where it's just like a guy trying to do the right thing, being a superhero.
And that's great.
And it's really, I think
they weren't trying to be different. They just went with it and they did it really well.
I love how they tie it back to Howard Stark and everything. I love the transformation scene. I think Red Skull, obviously not the best villain, but I think he's fine.
Yeah, perfectly fine.
The action is fun. I kind of like how this is like a, you know, old World War II, you know, World War type movie. I really, there's a lot of strong things in this movie. We obviously get the best Captain America suit. What's your favorite Captain America suit? You think
probably
the first Avenger is the best one?
The first Avenger.
Yeah, it's the one where it has the brown straps and all of this. I think it's really good.
Yeah, honestly. Is that the same one as in Winter Soldier?
Winter Soldier is the one with the white. The white. Has the white.
Yeah, it's not okay. Definitely not definitely not the one from Avengers. I think probably the Winter Soldier is better.
No, that's fair.
Yeah.
How do you feel about Cap's origin story? How do you feel about like his character arc?
Oh, it's great. I love his character. He just wants to do the right thing. He wants to join the military because he really doesn't have much, and all he cares about is doing the right thing.
I think the CGI for Skinny Cap doesn't look that bad for a 2011 movie.
Yeah.
I think it's really fun. Like, I like seeing Captain America throw shields at people, kick their faces in and stuff. It's just so fun. Definitely the best trilogy in the MCU, would you say? Is the Captain America one?
My favorite trilogy.
Yeah, very strong. I think this is the weakest of the Captain America movies, but it's still great.
I agree. I think B tier.
Yeah, B tier is fair. I would definitely.
I would put it below Iron Man.
I think it's better than Iron Man, but how could I convince you? I think Red Skull is a better villain than Ironmonger. I think obviously Steve's origin story I think is a little bit stronger. But if you want to put Iron Man ahead of it, that's fine.
I'll give you
that one.
I gave you Thor.
Yeah, you gave me Thor, so I'll give you this one.
All right. Next up is a very good one.
The Avengers. Probably my second favorite MCU movie. The Avengers rating, 3, 2, 1,
9.5 out of 10.
That is a wonderful rating. I don't usually throw around 10 out of 10s. This is a perfect movie. Every scene is needed. It's all so good. Also entertaining. How do you feel about this movie?
Oh my God, the reunion between all these superheroes was great. I love every scene of this movie. The forest fight,
probably the best scene in that movie. It's
when
so good.
When they're on the ship, when the fight in New York, it's all
and the writing
great.
is so good and it's so funny.
Yeah.
MCU movies are typically funny. It's one of the funnier MCU movies.
The craziest thing is when I first watched this is one of the ones we had to rewatch. When I first watched this movie, I was much lower. I gave this a 3 out of I gave it a 7 out of 10.
Pretty low. I'm glad we rewatched this one. I'm glad you see how great it is.
It's so good.
Loki is an awesome villain. And like the whole third act of the movie, the whole battle in New York is probably like, I think it's better than the Age of Ultron final battle, better than the Infinity War finale, better than the Endgame final battle. Like that New York fight is awesome. And then you get one of the best scenes in the MCU with the 360 Avengers. It's a great introduction, kind of reintroduction to pretty much, all these characters were in previous movies. So it's a great reintroduction to all these characters. Scenes flow from one to another, and it's just so good. They caught lightning in a bottle with this one. I love this movie.
Just there's like subtle comedy in this movie too.
It's just so funny.
In Thor, like his character in the first movie, you didn't really care much for Thor, right?
No, not at all.
And then in this movie, it just makes you care so much for all the characters, even if you don't like
in
it.
a gaming movie.
Yeah, that was hilarious when he called Iron Man Metal Man. That was just
Metal
funny.
Man.
Just made me giggle.
It's just there's so much great things about this movie. We could talk all day about it.
No.
How do you feel about the New York final battle? What is it?
It was
top
great.
5 MCU battles?
Definitely top 5, but
Ooh.
I would not agree that it's better than Infinity War. There's a lot more better fights in Civil War, I think, and Endgame, of course.
Yeah, I'm not going to fault you for that at all, of course, because all great movies. But I just think I like those movies a lot, but I have issues with them. There is not like I watched this movie multiple 10 times. I can never find a single complaint with it. The pacing is great, comedy is great, action is great, characters are great. Everything about it is just so good. The CGI, obviously, it's early Marvel, but it still looks great for the time. And Captain America's character is just further progressed, the only wanting to do the good thing. Iron Man is great. Black Widow's great in this one. Hawkeye is awesome in this one. Oh, Hulk, I think Hulk gets really done dirty in these movies, in my opinion. He gets that one cool scene of punching the big worm Leviathan thingy, and then he just does almost nothing else in these movies.
This was the movie where it
was introduced the new Hulk.
Yeah, but this is the one where they say the line Hulk, and then he looks at her and he's like smash, and then he smiles, right? And then he just starts smashing shit. Right?
Yeah. Wait, that might be Age of Ultron. No, I think
it's this
one,
one.
Though. Yeah, I think it's this one. This movie's great. This is an easy S tier for me. S tier for you?
I would put it in A. No, S tier. Yeah,
S tier. Yeah, I think S tier is really fair. It's such a great.
We need
movie.
Something in A. We'll get there.
Yeah, we'll get there, of course. And if we need, if we get halfway through the rating and we need to take a minute to change things around, we can.
Yeah.
So moving on to Phase 2.
Okay, Phase 2. It's good, and it has pretty bad movies too.
Yeah, some of the worst in the MCU, but
some of the best.
Really, some really good ones.
It's perfect. It's balanced.
Perfectly balanced, as all things should be.
Whereas Phase 1 was kind of, it had
slow highs, and then it really ramps up at the end.
It was okay for most of the part. It was just kind of a flat line. This has ups and downs, like the best and the worst. So it balances out, and it's a pretty good phase, I think.
Take us into the Iron Man 3 review.
First movie, Iron Man 3. You ready for your rating?
Iron Man 3 ratings. 3, 2, 1, 8 out of 10. This movie is really overhated.
Definitely.
How do you feel about people who think this is the worst Iron Man movie?
Crazy. I've heard so many takes on the worst MCU movie, and all of them I think are just terrible takes.
I think we'll get into it when we get into it, but one of your best takes, I think we have the best take for the worst MCU movie. A little bit of foreshadowing, but I think
a lot of people are just gonna disagree.
Yeah,
too.
You guys are gonna hate us for sure. But Iron Man 3, I think this movie is really overhated. I think the suits all look awesome. Everything with the suits are great, and even when he doesn't have the suit and he's dealing with the stuff with the kid, and this is back when the MCU had continuity, so Iron Man had PTSD from the wormhole stuff in Avengers. I think the stuff with the kid is great. Iron Man just being a badass and making gadgets from a gas station store with no suit, infiltrating stuff is great.
And that's some of the stuff that was in the first Iron Man, and they brought it back. So
what do you think of the Mandarin twist?
I did not mind it, honestly.
Yeah, I don't particularly like it, but I don't mind it. I don't think it's that bad at all. And obviously they
bring it back in Shang-Chi, which was the most surprising thing, other than something else I'll bring up. But yeah, it was just a fun movie. I think it was perfectly fun.
This just barely probably makes sense, like my top 10 MCU. I think this movie is really fun. I
definitely wouldn't do that.
Yeah, obviously you're a little bit lower, but you like this movie. But there's I can acknowledge there's issues with this. In Age of Ultron, he gets all of his suits back. But I think in my opinion, this is the best Iron Man movie out of the three. I think Rhodey becoming Iron Patriot kind of is great. I think the visuals for the lava kind of people are great. And I just think there's so much good in this movie, and it's really overhated.
Definitely.
I would go for a B tier. I know you're probably leaning more towards C tier, but I think it's definitely better than Hulk.
No, B tier's fine. I'll agree with B tier.
I would put it over the first Avenger. I know you're not going to want to put it over Iron Man. I'll give you that, but I think it's better than the first Avenger.
It's definitely not. I think it would be bottom here.
It's just I think I would honestly probably take the Mandarin. Nah, Red Skull's better than the Mandarin. Yeah, I'll give you that. Nah,
All right.
I really like the first Avenger, so that's fine.
Okay. Next,
Ooh.
I think this one will be pretty easy to agree on.
Yeah, Thor: The Dark World rating
I'm ready.
3, 2, 1,
2
3
out
out
of
of
10.
10. 2 out of 10. Wow.
Mhm.
So this movie's not that great. Obviously, I don't think this is this is most people's pick for worst movie in the MCU.
Which I can see. I can see.
I guess I
definitely
can
see.
kind of. I just think there's a lot of worse movies in the MCU. I think there's so much more dog crap than Thor: The Dark World. This is about on par with the first Thor for me. This movie's really bad. It's obviously super gray.
Super boring.
We get one of the worst MCU villains, Malekith.
Yeah.
The Thor and Loki relationship is good, but that's barely in any of the movie. Selvig is definitely at his worst in this movie. He's not very, very memorable. Jane Foster dealing with the ether isn't that great. Darcy continues to be one of the worst characters in the MCU. And
She's much more predominant in this movie. I think.
yeah, and then this movie's just not great. Terrible action sequences. What's your take on this movie?
Very boring, forgettable.
There's almost nothing to talk. Like
Loki dies again.
Yeah,
and
Loki
comes
has
back
his
again.
fake out death. How do you feel about the fake out Loki deaths?
It's just another fake out death. How many times is he gonna fake out? You know.
Yeah. But this movie is just bad, man. This just it's bad when there's almost nothing to talk about. Like with this next movie coming up, we're gonna be able to talk about a lot with this one. But with this one, there's just like nothing memorable. Bad villain, bad. I think Thor isn't at his worst. I think he's a little bit worse than the first Thor. It's just I like the comedy in these movies don't work for me at all. It's just this movie's not great. I think I would probably lean more towards D tier, but I am fine with an F tier.
F tier, definitely.
Yeah, Thor: The Dark World can go in the F tier.
It's our first F tier.
Now, getting into really, really, really good movie. You ready?
Yeah. Captain America: Winter Soldier.
The Winter Soldier. 3, 2, 1,
10 out of
9.5. 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
So, for a long time, I had this movie at a 10 out of 10, but then I rewatched Civil War, and then I think Civil War is a little bit better, so I lowered down The Winter Soldier to a 9.5 out of 10, but there is not much wrong with this movie. This movie is spectacular. Nick Fury is great. Bucky, how do you feel? So, you read comics, but you haven't read really Captain America comics. How did you feel about the Bucky twist when you first saw it?
Oh my god, that was like one of the few movie twists that actually had my jaw dropped. Like usually I get things spoiled and all that, and especially rewatching old movies, nothing really shocks me because people already talk about it. I've heard about it, and this just I was not expecting at all, and I was so invested into this movie that when it came, I was like, wait, that's Bucky from the first movie. Holy crap.
Yeah.
It's a character I would not expect them to bring back, actually. I thought he was dead for sure. It blew me out the way. And I think he's a great character, and they bring him back.
They bring him back in a really good way. Yeah, he's definitely one of the better MCU villains in that movie. The action is great. The Black Widow is actually a good side character in this movie. Like I said, Nick Fury, the not fake out death, but where they make it seem like Nick Fury is gonna die.
Yeah.
I think they handle that super well. The way they bring down S.H.I.E.L.D. down and find out like they're basically Hydra and stuff is so great. There's so much good stuff in this movie, and the dialogue in this movie is really great. Like just the scenes where just talking and exposition is going on and stuff, I think is really solid. And like way better than like future movies where it's like you just don't care for like almost anything.
The action was very good.
Very good. Captain America is awesome. I love the part after the elevator. The elevator fight scene is obviously great, but there's one scene at the start where he just kicks the guy off the boat and he goes flying off. We could talk about this movie literally all day. There's so much good stuff about it, man.
The Bucky fight. Oh my god.
The Bucky fight at the end is so good, and I love how he brings back his first Avenger suit. He goes back and get it, and I love the Stan Lee cameo with him finding out Captain America took the suit from the museum, and him suiting up in his classic suit. I think it's all great. Captain America literally takes multiple shots, stabs, punches, beatings, and he still manages to save Bucky in the end. It's just so good. Almost, I can't think of much wrong with this movie.
and it leads into Civil War too.
Yeah, it kind of.
I've heard it take. You told me about it. That this was just a filler movie.
Yeah, some people think this is just like a filler movie. Some people think it's overrated. No, this movie is great, and it sets up a lot of character development for future movies, and it's just so good. It's so good.
It explains how Shield was basically Hydra. What happened to Nick Fury? It sets up the whole Bucky thing in Civil War. It was not filler whatsoever, and it's such a good movie. Oh, that was so shocking. I did not expect that to be one of my favorite movies at all.
Easy S tier for me.
Like watching this movie, I was just like, all right, I want to get to Civil War. I know that's gonna be good, and then this blew me out the way.
Yeah, and it's so good. It's so strong throughout the whole thing. It's just, oh my god.
S tier.
And they introduced Falcon in a great way too. I love Falcon in that movie. He's awesome. It's just so good.
So
easy S tier.
S tier.
I think Avengers though is a little bit better.
Here comes another good one. Guardians of the Galaxy.
Guardians of the Galaxy rating 3,
2,
2,
1. 9 out of 10.
5 out of 10. This
completely
movie
fair.
is great. So this is one of the ones we rewatched. You said this on the podcast before. For both of them, you didn't like the first Guardians of the Galaxy. Yeah, you didn't like the first Guardians of the Galaxy.
Originally, on original watch, I did not connect with this movie at all. I thought it was all right.
And what was the change? What was the change in heart?
I guess I must have been tired or stupid or something. Then school must have changed me or something, bro. I must have learned how to actually enjoy peak movies.
That's good.
I just love every character so much. The characters is what drive this movie mainly.
Yeah, and they introduce them in all a great way. There, you can tell James Gunn cares about these characters, and so to a point of how great the characters are. How do you feel about Ronan, the villain?
I think Ronan's Ronan's a perfectly fine villain.
Yeah, I think he's a fine villain, and especially this is a case with all the Guardians movies. I guess not so much 2. The villain's really tied in that one, but for 1 and 3, like they focus on the Guardians. Like you don't really need that much of a compelling villain because it's focusing all on the Guardians and their relationship.
And I like that about it.
Yeah, and especially this movie moves out of. This is one of the best paced MCU movies. It's so funny. Drax is the funniest character in the MCU.
Definitely.
He is hysterical. Star-Lord's probably my favorite character in the MCU. He's awesome. Rocket is
one of my favorite MCU characters
Rocket
of all
is
time.
so great. Groot is great. Gamora is great. Nebula is great. And I think Ronan's a fine villain. He's obviously not the best, but I think he's kind of cool. The dance off at the end is obviously wonderful. The prison escape I think is great. And the opening, one of the best openings of every Marvel movie. It's just this movie is so strong, and it's like I love how emotional it is. It's like. People don't love Iron Man 3, obviously, and Thor: The Dark World. Everybody should hate that movie's really bad. And then they decided, all right, we need to get out some banger movies, and they came out with The Winter Soldier and Guardians of the Galaxy, and I love this movie so much. Nobody knew who these guys were,
Barely
and the movie
anybody.
Came out, and
everyone loves them
terrific.
now.
It was just so good.
I think if you don't have this on your top 10 at least,
yeah,
you're crazy. Yeah.
You think this is the best Guardians film?
No.
Really? I think obviously this is clear for me. Guardians 2 is the best film. I guess we'll find out yours as we go on. But you want to get in the Age of Ultron?
Oh yeah. Well, let's rate this movie.
Rate it first. Guardians of the Galaxy. I think it is.
That is our first A tier.
Yeah, I would love to put this in S tier, but I don't think it's as strong as Avengers or the Winter Soldier. So I am completely fine with putting this in A tier.
Okay. All right, perfect. Age of Ultron.
Avengers Age of Ultron rating 3, 2, 1.
1, okay.
7
6 out of 10.
So this is one of the ones rewatched. I think there's a lot to talk about in this movie. There's a lot of good in this movie. So a lot of the action's great. Like the Hulkbuster is one of the best fight scenes in the MCU. I think
Yep.
Thor is decent in this movie. Captain America continues to be great. Iron Man continues to be great. Hulk, again, is done dirty. He doesn't really do much in this movie. Black Widow's fine. But it's just there's so many subplots and so much shit going on in this movie. I think Hawkeye's really good, but they're trying to do this little Hawkeye story and try to get the not twins involved, but you have this Hawkeye story going on and then you got the twin story going on, and then they have Selvig come in the movie out of literally absolutely nowhere, and then you get the Thor and Selvig thing, and then the Bruce Banner and Natasha thing, and then this movie is setting up Civil War and Thor Ragnarok. It's just this movie. There's so much.
A little bit of a mess.
Yeah, it's a mess. How do you feel about Ultron?
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. My biggest negative to this movie is Ultron. I do not like Ultron.
You don't So I think what do you not like about Ultron? Like, you don't think he's a great villain? You think he's a bad character?
He does good villain things, I guess, for a villain. But I just don't like his character. I think his motives are kind of stupid. Like, why does he want to just destroy the whole world? How would that really help?
Because he wants to turn it into metal, so everybody
that's just stupid, bro. And then he just acts super weird. Like, he's an AI, and then he stutters on some stuff, and he's like, little people, children.
Yeah,
lost the word there.
yeah. Oh my god! Like, I'm not laughing because it's funny, but it's just I don't think the comedy in this movie is that. The comedy in the Avengers Infinity War is probably like the funniest MCU movie. The comedy in this movie just doesn't work for me at all. I think Ultron is a little bit overhated. I think Ultron is a cool villain. Obviously, I agree with you. I don't like how they try to, the jokes obviously aren't great.
Yeah.
But I think he looks sick. I think the fight scenes with him are powerful. I just think he's cool. And I just think he was underutilized. I feel like if they saved Ultron for like his own trilogy of Avengers movies, or just done literally anything,
he could have been done a lot better.
He could have been done a lot better if they literally just did anything else except for what they did. So I can't fault you for not disliking Ultron, but he's probably in my top like 10 MCU villains. I think he's really I think he's pretty awesome, but I will not blame you for not liking him.
He's probably in my top 10 too, because there's not
that many great villains in this. How do you feel about the Hulkbuster fight?
Probably the best fight in this movie. Yeah, that was just fun. I liked the Hulkbuster. I like that scene where he's just repeatedly punching
him.
It's fun.
I think the dinner party scene, the "Are you worthy?" where Captain America, in front of Thor.
What do you think of the whole end battle with the floating island and everything?
I think it's fine, but I think it's really weak compared to the other final battles in some of the other movies. Like, it's not the New York battle. I think the Endgame battle is stronger. I think the Infinity War climax is stronger. I even probably take the Ant-Man final fight over that, because I think it's cool and fun how they're little.
I think it's very ridiculous how they managed to evacuate that whole city.
Yeah, it's definitely, but it's like a superhero movie, so
everything just went right.
Yeah, everything kind of did go
there
right.
There weren't really any. Okay. There were trade-offs, but
everything did well.
Everything went right.
Yeah, mostly everything went right, but kind of not, because it kind of causes civil war, or it's a reason for civil war. It's just, this movie is not that great, but I love the party scene, one of my favorite scenes in the MCU. Like, there's great stuff, like Hawkeye is a really good character.
Yeah, most of the Avengers characters, when they're talking, when they're being themselves, I think they're doing a good job. Anything that involves, like, the main plot, and driving the main plot, I think it doesn't do that as well.
But just when they introduce these messy side plots that go nowhere, this movie just really drags. It's entertaining, but it has issues. It has a lot of issues. I'm leaning more towards like a C tier.
I also didn't care for Wanda really that much.
I think the twins are. How do you feel about Quicksilver?
Quicksilver didn't really care about him that much either.
His
death was sad. They could have done more with him, but
I don't really care for them. I like how Wanda gets in future movies. I kind of like Wanda as a character. Quicksilver obviously isn't that great. He died way too early. But I really like the part where he sacrifices from himself for Hawkeye. I think
Yeah.
he got some really cool.
I do
scenes.
like the part where Wanda does become an Avenger and he's talking to Hawk. She's talking to
Hawkeye's
Hawkeye.
diving her, yeah. Hawkeye's great. And the best part about that movie, I am
For sure.
C tier.
C tier is good.
Above the Incredible Hulk for sure.
I agree. Put that there.
And then the
there's
last
the
movie,
list right there.
last movie in Phase 2, one of the most underrated
Ant-Man.
movies, Ant-Man. And take us into the Ant-Man review.
Yes.
Count us down.
Okay. Where is that? All right, here. Okay. All right. Ant-Man review 2015.
3,
2, 1.
8 out of
7.5 out of 10.
This movie is great.
Yeah, it's a pretty fun movie.
I really like Ant-Man. Paul Rudd is awesome. The heist stuff is awesome. The Yellow Jacket obviously isn't a great villain, but I think he's cool enough. Like I said earlier, the third act with like them small fighting in the Cassie's place set is really fun. The Thomas the Tank Engine stuff is
I love the fight with Falcon and
the Falcon
Ant-Man.
fight is really
Definitely.
fun. This movie's and it's one of the funnier MCU movies. All the characters fun. I really like Hank Pym. He's definitely at his best in this movie. Just a lot of good stuff. I think it's just so fun and so funny. And a lot of people, again, this movie isn't necessarily hated, but it's not talked about enough. I think Ant-Man is a really solid, probably easily a top 10 MCU movie.
Yeah. I give this a 7.5 because I have a lot of 8 out of 10s, and I feel like this performs a little less well than a lot of my 8 out of 10s, like Iron Man and Captain America, stuff like that.
The stuff that's like and it's just a way better version of Blue Beetle. It came out before Blue Beetle ripped off of it, and it's just a way worse version. But I like the whole just there's really great, like the heist stuff is so good and everything at the start is so good. But what brings this movie down is the just MCU. Classic MCU stuff. Like you gotta have the big CGI final battle. You gotta have the villain that's an exact copy of the hero, kind of. And then you just gotta have like stuff go wrong because it's a superhero movie. And I feel like the MCU kind of formula brings down this movie a little bit. But there was a writer on the Edgar something. There was some guy named Edgar who was writing this movie. And then I'm pretty sure
they changed it, right?
Yeah, he wrote a lot of the movie, and I think he wrote most of the like really good stuff about it. And then they kept like you could tell in the movie too, but like the MCU-ification, if that makes any the MCU just the formula of the MCU was too much shoved into it.
Yeah,
and
they kicked him out and Marvelized
they kicked him out, and then Marvel just finished the rest of it. So I think it gets a little messy as it goes on, but it's such a fun movie. It's really funny. I like how they utilize Ant-Man being small. We get some awesome scenes with that, and I'm glad you're higher on this movie than most because I really like Ant-Man.
It's a good movie. I think underrated.
Very underrated.
Yeah.
Easy B tier for me. I think it's better than Iron Man 3, but I'd put it. I think it's better than all those B tier movies. I'd put it above Iron Man.
I put it below Captain America, but
Really?
how about to even it out?
Yeah, even it out
Right in
above
between Iron
Captain
Man
America.
and Captain America.
That's fine.
All right.
Moving on to Phase 3.
It's not really a bell curve going on here. We got a lot in S.
We'll get it going.
All right. Okay. Moving
Phase
on to
3.
Phase 3. First movie was
Easily
Civil
the best
War.
phase in the MCU.
Definitely.
This is really good. The highest highs, some pretty low, kind of low lows, but great phase.
The longest phase too.
No, Phase 4 is the longest phase.
Okay. Well, that includes the shows. For
There's
the movies,
there's still
not
like
much.
9. Well, I'm not sure. You ready to talk about Civil War?
Yes.
Civil War rating 3, 2, 1,
9 out of 10.
out of 10. I'm glad you're a 9 out of 10 on this. This movie is. You obviously like The Winter Soldier better. I think this is the best Captain America movie. Clearly, this movie is. Oh my,
Yeah.
it's just.
My opinion honestly just changed this movie. You were fussing at me for giving it a 4 out of 10 on Letterboxd, and I saw your point. So
I don't know how he feels about most of these movies, but I knew some of them, and I knew his Civil War opinions. So it's just this movie is great, man.
Some of the best action scenes in the entire MCU.
It's mostly action in this movie, and it's all great. It's all super fun. It should be in everybody's top 3 MCU. This movie is great. airport fight's one of the best fights in the MCU. The ending
End
fight,
fight was
the end
amazing.
fight
It was
is
so
one
good.
of my favorite
Oh
fight.
my
It's
God.
probably my favorite fight in the
I
MCU.
love when Captain America drops the shield.
Yeah,
And
it's
it's just all of that.
It's
Oh my God.
so good. Bucky is great in this one. We get introduced to Black Panther and Spider-Man, which are done great. One of the best Spider-Mans. I love Spider-Man in this movie. He's so great. It's just, and oh my God. What? We got to talk about this. Whose side are you on?
Again, like I said before, when we first watched this and talking about it on the podcast,
I don't think we know. I don't think we ever talked about whose
we
side
have.
we've been on.
I'm pretty. Yeah, we have.
Well, I haven't. I don't remember whose
We
side are you
we
on?
talked about it twice. Once when I read the comics back in like episode 2, and then another
Maybe.
time after we watched the movie right here in this area. Again, I'm gonna say this. I said this 3 times. I feel like it's more complicated than that.
Oh, well, gun. If you're at gunpoint, who are you choosing?
Captain America.
Captain.
Because Bucky. Like, okay, if he wasn't trying to save Bucky the whole time, because they're trying to kill Bucky, right? And he did nothing wrong.
Well, not kill him, but capture him.
Well, they said they had the order to shoot at sight.
Oh well, yeah. Okay,
So-
yeah, I guess.
Yeah, they would have killed him. And if they weren't, then I would lean towards more towards Iron Man, because I think they have a good idea. They're trying to regulate things, so there's not so much destruction. They think about these things before they act and all that stuff. But Captain America, he wants to save Bucky for the most part, and that's really why he doesn't want to sign the Accords for the most part. And yeah, I'm gonna have to side with him.
Yeah, I always flip flop while watching the movie. I kind of lean more towards Iron Man solely because he sees his parents die at the end, and he's getting 2v1 at the end, and it's just so sad to see. And the thing, it's not like this movie. It's not like this movie is just like, in Batman versus Superman, where they just take 2 iconic characters and make them battle for a stupid reason out of nowhere. This movie, not necessarily built up to it. Once they got around the Age of Ultron, they did, but they have their reasons for fighting. You care about these characters. You're sad that they're fighting. Like, you're like stressing the whole time, and it's just such a well done movie. But yeah, Iron Man sees his parents die at the end. That's why I kind of lean towards him. I think Cap is right, but obviously, Team Iron Man has Spider-Man and Black Panthers, and
Yeah.
that's awesome. I love how they include Ant-Man into this movie.
But Team Cap has some of my favorite characters too: Captain America and Hawkeye.
Ant-Man, Falcon's great, Bucky's great. It's just there's so much good in this movie. Oh my God, I love Civil War. Everybody should love Civil War. So now that you've rewatched this, do you think this is a better movie than Oppenheimer?
No.
Really?
Yeah.
I think this is. I think
It's on
on.
par. I think it's on par.
Yeah, that's fine. I think this is so good. Do you think this is which Iron Man performance do you think is best out of all the movies he's been in? I think Civil War is probably his best performance.
Civil War, I feel like he kind of changes up his character, not in a bad way. I'm not saying that it strayed from his character or he was off
I
character.
kind of get that, but you get that one scene right after he's showing off his barf tech, and then the one lady goes up to him and shows his son died in Sokovia, and that kind of gives Iron Man his change in heart.
Yeah, and I'm saying
So they give reason.
I'm saying they give a good reason. I'm not saying he was off character, which is it was different. So it was strange seeing him this different. But I'm probably gonna have to agree with you. Infinity War or Endgame, he did great in all of
Yeah,
them.
he's great in every movie, of course.
How can I decide?
He's the best in all of them.
Yeah.
He's so good. Maybe except for Iron Man too. But Civil War is just so good. They balance out all these characters so well. They're fighting for a reason, and then you get to see all their cool, unique powers. Like you get to see all their powers used in the airport battle, and it's just so fun. You're never not bored during this movie. This is like one of the most just stuff is happening the entire time. And you care the whole time. It's just such a strong movie. Easy S tier for me.
I would go 8. S tier. I would go S tier.
Do you like it better than Guardians of the Galaxy?
Yes.
So yeah, I would put it. I know we have a lot of S tier.
I would put it S tier, but the lowest on S tier. I think you would agree. No, you wouldn't agree with
I think it's better than the Winter Soldier, but if you're gonna put it in S tier, I'll give you the Winter Soldier being above it.
All right, I gotta move it up. Hold on. Tier list is getting a little too big. All right. Okay. Ooh. So got a lot in S.
Another good
one. A lot in B. And here comes another good one. All right. Doctor Strange, the first one. This was released in when?
2016.
2016. I watched this movie when it came out. All right. Are you ready for your rating? Ready for your rating. Doctor Strange.
3, 2, 1.
8.5 out of 10.
8.5. Yeah. Doctor Strange is great. Again, like Ant-Man, like Iron Man 3, kind of like the Hulk. This movie is really underrated. Again, like I've said multiple times, not necessarily that it's hated. I just don't think it's talked about enough. I think it's a really basic MCU movie.
Really?
Well, what I mean by that is I feel like it follows a really simple formula. Like it's a really simple story, but it's just so good, and it's so enhanced by the amazing visuals in this movie. Just with the mirror dimension is great. Doctor Strange's character development is great. Him and his love interest is fine, not the best, but not the worst. Definitely one of the better ones in the MCU.
I think this is definitely Doctor Strange's best movie.
Yes.
I think he falters a lot in other movies.
Yeah, especially in more recent ones. I think he's fine in the Avengers movies, but
No Way Home.
I know we've talked about that before. I don't mind Doctor Strange and No Way Home at all, but we're gonna have to get to that. But yeah, this movie is just really solid. The way they utilize all the power, the way Doctor Strange learns to use his powers with all of his fingers broken. I think it's a very compelling movie. It's just really good. It's really fun. I don't think it has the strongest villains. Caecilius is not the best, but I think Dormammu. How do you feel about the Dormammu I've come to bargain?
I think it's fine. I think it's a good villain.
No, but how do you feel about like the Dormammu I've come to bargain thing?
The whole time loop thing?
Yeah, like the ending where he's doing the Dormammu I've come to bargain and he keeps dying.
No, it's a very good way to win a fight. Using time against it's
fun.
Genius.
It looks very cool.
That would be very painful, but it's very smart and effective. Because nobody wants to wait in a time loop for all of eternity.
Really solid movie, and again, I think it's a little bit just, it's just nothing that blows me away too much.
There's so much you can do with a origin story.
And one of the better origin story movies for sure. Yeah, I think we're gonna agree this should go in B tier.
I disagree. I think A tier.
Really?
Below Guardians.
For now, yeah, I think for now, so we can have a little bit more in A, that's fine. But maybe if we need to lower it, because I do think it's stronger than Iron Man. I think I like Ant-Man a little bit better. I like the first Avenger a little bit better. I like Iron Man better. But Doctor Strange in A is fine.
All right.
Here's our rating for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. 3, 2, 1, 9.
8 out of 10.
5 out of 10.
I know you love this movie. It is or was your favorite?
It is my favorite MCU movie. I think this is obviously it's a personally it is my favorite. I can acknowledge there's better MCU movies, but just personally, I'll get in. I'll hear your take first because you weren't that big on this movie at all when you first saw it.
No, oh yeah, and this was even lower than the first Guardians when I first watched it.
How do you feel about this movie? Let's hear it.
I think this movie is super fun and super funny.
It's
Drax
probably
is
one of my fun.
Drax is also great in this movie, of course.
Do you think it's the funniest MCU movie?
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. It's great. Drax is
There's a question I gotta ask you: Anulax batteries or Harbulary batteries?
Definitely Harbulary batteries.
Oh yeah, for sure.
A funny thing you said. All that happened because of some Harbulary batteries.
Yeah, but it really did.
It's hilarious. How do you feel about Ego?
Okay, so Ego was, I think he was a pretty good villain. the whole father stuff. It kind of reminds me of Omni-Man because he's like this powerful god being, and of course he's the father. He acts like he's good, and then he ends up not being so good.
How do you feel about the twist? Like, how do you feel they did the twist?
So the twist was that
Ego was the villain.
Yeah, Ego was the villain. He says that when he first found life, he was actually disappointed.
Keep talking.
And he kills. Wait, no. Oh yeah, the big twist was that he was the one who put the tumor in Peter's mother's brain.
And I like to say, remember how Peter reacted in that Ego when he found out, and he blasted Ego immediately, freaking out.
Are you going to compare that to?
Yeah, I want to compare that. I will get into it later, but I just want you to remember that scene. But yeah, I think Ego's a fine villain, probably in my top 10 MCU villains. He's not the best, but I really like him. This movie just does so much stuff that like I love in a superhero movie. Like, it looks way better than modern day MCU movies. Like, it's so colorful, it looks great. Has one of my favorite openings to an MCU movie. All the characters are really great. The Yondu stuff is amazing. I love Yondu. And a question I always had, do you think they killed off Yondu because he would have just taken out Thanos too easily?
How would he have taken out Thanos so easily?
Because he could have just whistled it right through his head.
I think Thanos has more to him than you give him credit to. I think he can get around that. Most of the people he uses his whistle arrow on are pretty weak and just like a bunch of minions around the compounds.
It's just a
everything.
fun thing to think about. Obviously, I don't think Yondu could kill him, but the Yondu death scene and funeral is like probably my second favorite scene in the MCU. I love that so much. I love the fatherhood story they tell in this movie. I'll say this off the bat. This is my favorite MCU movie, but I don't give it a 10 out of 10. But I do kind of have upon rewatching, I do kind of have an issue with it. I feel like this movie kind of struggles to find itself. Like, it doesn't really know what it's trying to be until the third act, because it's saving up that big twist of Ego being the villain in the third act. And it's amazing then. The third act's easily the best part of the movie, but I think it struggles in finding itself a bit. Like, it's really entertaining and it's all good, but I think it turns into an actual cohesive story more towards the end. But
you talking about the stuff with the yellow people and it's
kind of
plot with the Ravagers and everything.
Yeah, it's just so much stuff. It's like it's all entertaining, but it's just like it's like kind of all over the place a little bit. But it really finds itself by the end, and I love this movie so much.
It works. It all works in the end.
And
I love this stuff where it's kind of like Ego versus Yondu as he may be your father, but he's not your daddy.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that line so much.
Good, and the Mary Poppins joke is so good.
Oh, I love that. It's so sweet. I love Yondu so much.
Yeah, Yondu is great. I love that they bring him back in Guardians 3 for that one. You remember? When Kraglin learns how to use the arrow, and then he sees Yondu flat. Yeah. So, oh my god, I love him so. And he's Merle from The Walking Dead, of course. Such a great actor. We could talk. I could talk about this movie. What's like your main issue with this movie?
Main issue is it's not as good as the first.
Yeah, I won't blame you. I think the first one's a very solid movie. I just think this one, it's funnier than the first one in my opinion. It just has better. It just takes the first one and just does it all better in my opinion. But I think the first one follows a more cohesive story.
Definitely, and like you said, there is a lot going on, a little bit more going on, and there's some points where I feel a little disappointed about this movie. A lot of people think it's a bad MCU movie, which is crazy.
People who think this is a bad movie, I think it's crazy. This movie definitely gets undeserved hate. This movie is great. It's way better than most, Quantumania. Like, it's just way better than stuff that comes out nowadays, man. This movie is great. Easy I can acknowledge you're not going to want to put it in S tier. Obviously, easy S tier for me, but I think A tier is a fair place to put it.
A tier above...
A tier above Doctor Strange, and then I'll give it to you. I'll let you have Guardians ahead. But I personally think it's the best Guardians film because it is my favorite MCU movie, but that's fine. So now we're getting into the next few. I don't really enjoy particularly. You ready for
I completely
Spider-Man?
disagree.
Really? Spider-Man Homecoming?
Yes, I'm ready for Spider-Man Homecoming.
Spider-Man Homecoming rating.
All right,
3, 2, 1, 4 out of 10.
6 out of 10.
So that's a little bit too high in my opinion.
I know. Okay, I know your issues with this. Your issues are that Spider-Man isn't really Spider-Man in this movie. He's getting help from Tony Stark the whole time. He is he's whining, complaining all the time, and it's not like a Spider-Man movie. It doesn't feel like a Spider-Man movie to you. I agree on those. I think those are really good criticisms. And after watching Spider-Man, all the Spider-Man movies, I agree on those issues. But it's a fun movie. It's such a fun movie, in my opinion. And I know the fight scenes aren't that great.
Not at all. He does not throw a single punch in the movie. The action was some of the worst action in the MCU, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. But it's a fun movie. It's there's funny stuff. Good villain.
That's my two positives with this movie that keep it from like a 2 out of 10. Top 5 MCU villain, Vulture is really good, and the comedy and these Spider-Man movies are great. Homecoming's a really funny movie.
Definitely. So do you have any other negatives?
Yeah.
That you want to bring up?
The one thing that the Tobey Maguire and kind of the Tasm movies, but the one thing those movies really get right is Peter Parker's suffering for actually being Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Can you name any consequence he goes through in Homecoming?
No. And I really don't have an issue with that because it's not really, it's a very different Spider-Man here.
Yeah.
And you can see that when No Way Home comes around, that it is really a vastly different Spider-Man than we're used to.
Yeah, they definitely took a different approach with it, and I don't particularly like it at all. Like, the sandwich shop gets destroyed at the start, and Peter shows no remorse for that. It's almost never brought up again. Peter ditches Ned at the party, and the very next day, they're all buddy friends. He ditches his school team when they're about to almost lose this study test event thing, and he comes back, and then the teacher lets him right back in. He gets his suit taken away, which he didn't even make, so that's barely even a consequence. And I don't like the Homecoming suit at all. I like how it's kind of comic accurate.
I hate the suit.
Black lines are bad.
Definitely worst suit in the entire for all Spider-Man. No.
It's just not. And I get they took a different approach with it. It's just I hate how Iron Man, like you said, I don't like how Iron Man saves him multiple times throughout the movie. I don't like how he's an Iron Man Jr. And it's just I don't. Like how you say it's fun, I just don't think it's that great because the action isn't that great in this movie, and like the things the Tasm movies have really well is like awesome Spider-Man swinging scenes.
Okay,
there is no awesome Spider-Man swinging scenes in Homecoming.
I agree. I agree definitely. There should have been more stuff in New York and not DC. But let me ask you this: do you think it was entertaining?
To like some parts, like they really focus on the high school aspect, but like I get you can have the high school aspect there, but it doesn't have to be 70% of the movie. Like the high school stuff is funny, it's good, it builds his character, but I just don't think it's that great. I'd rather see him doing cool Spider-Man stuff, actually throwing punches and stuff. I want cool air fight sequences with Vulture in the air from like the Spider-Man games and stuff. And it's just we don't get anything Spider-Man in this movie.
Yeah,
I was so hyped for it because I obviously wanted Spider-Man in the MCU, and when I first saw it, I was really disappointed.
Like I just said, there should have been more in New York. I feel like he's just kind of in flat areas a lot of the time, not much buildings, and that's kind of why he gets his the Iron Spider kind of. Spider crawling arm things later on in the franchise is because he does a lot of just straight land stuff. He's not swinging around that much.
You get that one cool scene with him lifting up the boulders, and that one scene, I think that's fine. And then you get him saving the people in Washington, D.C. and the monument. I think that's fun, but it's ruined by the AI telling him to kiss Liz, which is so stupid.
Yeah,
I think Liz is a particularly uninteresting love interest, and I do not like this movie. I would lean kind of towards D tier, but I do think it's better than Iron Man 2 and Thor, so I am fine with the C tier.
If you want to put in D tier, you've gave a lot to me, but you said you lean more to C, so
C above Incredible Hulk, but I think
above,
above Hulk, and I think below Hulk.
Okay,
I think Hulk's a little bit better.
I put it above Hulk in my list, but for you,
yeah. Some people who think this is the best Spider-Man movie, nope, No Way Home's way better. Spider-Man 2,
it's got
better.
very good
Tasman's
ratings.
better. Yeah, it's not great.
Huh.
Black Panther. You take us into Black Panther.
Black Panther's next because Thor Ragnarok's next on here.
Thor Ragnarok. I'm sorry.
That's why I said I disagree.
Oh yeah, no. Okay. Thor Ragnarok ratings 3, 2.
Oh, where is it? I'm so sorry.
You take us in.
Okay. Thor Ragnarok ratings in 3, 2, 1. 9.5 out of 10.
9.5. Nice. Thor Ragnarok is awesome. It's the only good Thor movie.
My third favorite movie in the MCU, by the way.
Yeah.
Oh my God. This movie shocked me a lot. I mean, you told me it was really good, but I didn't think it was going to be this good. And watching it, I remembered this movie. I'm pretty sure I watched this before. I don't think I watched it in theaters, but I think I watched it a lot when it came on TV. And I never remember it being that great, but oh my God, this movie was so good, so funny, so fun.
You think Guardians 2 is funnier than Ragnarok?
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely.
Just a curious question. A lot of good.
This made me care a lot about Thor.
Yeah, Thor has definitely done best in this. It was just recently revealed that the director for this movie just made Thor Ragnarok for a cash grab, so. I think he got lucky with that one, and that's kind of why Thor: Love and Thunder isn't great. But they do a perfect explanation of where Thor and Hulk were in Civil War. Awesome action sequences. There's some of my favorite scenes in the MCU in this movie. It is hysterical. There's so much good in this. It looks great. I love just the colors and atmosphere of that planet they're on is great. Just everybody is so funny. It's just I love this movie. What's your favorite thing about this movie?
It builds. I love Hulk and Thor's dynamic together. I think they do great together, and they become good friends.
All the dynamics
later on in the Infinity War and everything else.
The Valkyrie relationship is good. Not that they're liking each other, but she's good. Loki's great.
Loki's great too. Yeah, huge improvement from the Dark. Wait. No, what did he do in the Dark World that much? He died in the Dark World. So yeah, huge improvement because he didn't die.
How do you feel about Hela?
Yeah, I was just about to get into that. Hela I think was a good villain.
She was fine. I didn't think she was great, but I think she was fine.
I think people don't like her that much, but I think she was perfectly fine.
She's a really good threat for Thor. She poses as an actual threat, and I like that.
Yeah, and because she's a sibling and she's an heir to the throne. And obviously she's going to try to get that, which I like. And I think the final battle at Asgard was great.
Yeah, it's so good. Him arriving on the bridge and Hulk falling down onto the rainbow, the Bifrost is really funny. It's so funny. It's just this is probably going to be an S tier for you. I'm leaning more towards A.
I'll give you that. No, I'll give you that definitely.
A. I think it's not. I'll give you A above Guardians 2. Since we're putting in A, I'll let you put it above.
Okay. I would put it above Guardians 1, but yeah.
I think Guardians 1's a little bit better.
But yeah, great movie. All right, Black Panther. If I can find it real quick. All right, I found it. Black Panther rating 3, 2, 1, 7 out of 10. Ouch.
You're a little bit, I think that's a little bit too high. I don't think this movie's that great.
I think one of the worst things about this movie is the CGI.
Yeah, it looks almost, if not
Horrendous.
worse than the Flash.
Worst
it is
movie.
Bad. It is on par with the Flash.
Yeah, the worst CGI in any Marvel movie, I think.
Everything just looks bad. Wakanda, and I think they just saved it all for Infinity War, because Infinity War, Wakanda looks great. The final battle in Wakanda is great, but it just looks bad.
Oh
in
yeah,
this
especially the scene where Black Panther is doing that ceremony, that ritual thing. He's buried, he's dreaming, and he's seeing his dad. Right.
It looks
The whole field around him,
so
Wakanda, wherever he is, it looks terrible.
yeah, and what was
The final fight scene also looks bad.
Like,
it
the
looks
fight
like a video
scenes
game.
in this movie are so dark and bad. The Black Panther suit looks terrible in that movie. It's too CGI, but you get the dark forest fight in the opening, and then the nighttime chase sequence, and then you get the end fight in the cave, in the super dark cave, and none of it looks good. There's some, I like T'Challa, I like M'Baku, I like Shuri, I like Okoye, I like all the side characters and stuff. This movie has the worst joke in the MCU. I think.
Oh, yeah.
What are those jokes? Is the worst.
Well,
joke
yeah,
in
that
the
was
MCU.
just like a meme at the time, so they're trying to take
Yeah.
advantage of that. It did not work.
It aged.
Was it
poorly.
funny at the time for people? You think?
No.
Did you watch it in theaters?
Yeah, I watched this.
Did
movie
anybody
in
laugh?
theaters. I don't remember, because I was a little bit younger when I saw this movie in theaters, so I don't remember if people laughed during that joke, but I remember always hating it.
There's always going to be somebody that laughs.
Killermonger's a great villain.
Yeah, I was just about to get into that.
Top
I love
5 MCU villain
Killmonger easily. I love the whole plot with him actually being an heir to the throne, technically, and the backstory between his dad and the father of Killmonger was great. And yeah, that's why I like this movie most of all, is the plot. And I love when they're fighting for the throne in that like little waterfall area. It's great.
How do you feel about the fake out death with T'Challa, when and they make it seem like
No, I like
Killmonger
it.
kills him?
I like it because I don't think everybody knew that Black Panther was still alive, but it was still good for the plot, and just it felt satisfying because you're gonna. Now I'm talking to no one.
I'm sorry. Keep going.
Well, okay. Well, what was I saying?
I don't remember. You were talking about. Dang, what were you talking about? There's no way
I was talking about the fake out death.
Yeah, the fake out death.
Okay, yeah, he's gonna come back, and he's gonna get some very satisfying character development and a strong final battle. So, which you did
Bad
get.
final battle. It's too CGI, and I think
That's the
some
only
of this
problem,
movie is
really.
interesting. Like T'Challa, like that ritual they do with the fight over the cliff river is interesting. I just think most of the rest of the movie is just not interesting, and obviously this movie looks terrible. That's like the worst thing about it. It looks so bad. Just the green screen. It's just. I don't think I said you're a little bit higher on it than me. Obviously, I can see why you like the villain. I agree. I like the villain and stuff. I think the story is fine.
Yeah, I think if they actually cared about the CGI, it would be a 4 out of 10 for me. I'm not 4 out of 10. Sorry, 4 out of 5. 8 out of 10.
I'm leaning. I would put this in C tier. I think. I think a high C tier is fair. You want to give it a high C tier, because I don't think it's B tier.
I would put it above here, but yeah, high C tier is.
We can do it a high. I think Age of Ultron and Hulk are a little bit better.
Hulk, no. That's not
behind
better
Age
than
of
Hulk.
Ultron, that's fine.
I think it's better than Age of Ultron too, but I'll give you that.
Now, my
Okay.
hallelujah masterpiece. Your favorite film in the MCU?
Yes,
Avengers: Infinity War.
perfect film. All right, Avengers: Infinity War.
Rating
3, 2, 1, 10 out
9.5.
of 10.
I don't blame you at all. This movie's great. Well, take us in.
Everything is perfect in this movie. Everybody should watch it, whether you like MCU or not. Just watch a recap if you don't know what the hell's going on.
Well, you kind of do have to watch almost all the other movies to understand this one. It's like there's so much characters in this movie, and they're throwing
So
all
much
at
references. So
you.
much,
Yeah, every other
but
line in these movies are referenced.
It's done so well, and every
really
time
good.
somebody comes in, you're just like, yes.
It's really good. This is probably the best paced MCU movie.
Oh, yeah.
The way they balance the fight with Guardians and then Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, and Iron Man, with Thor making the hammer with Groot and Rocket.
Yeah.
And then everything on Wakanda, they balance those three plot lines, and then they kind of
all come
they
together,
They
so-
come to really good.
That's if you're gonna do side plots. Well, they're not side plots; they're main plots.
That's
And
how you do it.
Yeah, that's how you do it.
That's how you do it.
It's perfect.
All the characters are great. How do you feel about Star-Lord and what he does in this movie?
I know what you're talking about, and people argue that it's his fault, which it kind of is. I understand. I understand. I think it's excusable because you were comparing it to Ego's death, right?
Yeah. So
Or not Ego's death, but his mom's death.
the thing is, Doctor Strange said there was only one way to win.
Yeah.
So if that was we saw the one way win play out. So if Star-Lord didn't do that, then
They wouldn't have won.
yeah, they might not.
So
not have
actually,
won.
technically, he saved them all, and it's all Star-Lord, and he should be praised. He should be. I'm just kidding.
but people say that Star-Lord's out of character and he overreacts. No, we've seen how he
No,
reacts.
he
to
loves
this kind of-
Gamora.
yeah, and obviously,
Of course.
And both of his dads died like just a few movies before this, so that's obviously taking a toll on him. And then the love of his life just died, obviously.
Yeah,
and
he's
we've
had a lot of
seen Peter Quill outraged like this during scenes. Like obviously what he did to Ego, it's like it's not out of character. That's Star-Lord. That's what you'd expect Star-Lord
Yeah.
to do.
But
I don't have a problem
comparing
with
it to his mother's death, that happened a long time ago. So
I was
he
talking
already.
about his Yondu and Ego's
Yeah,
death,
I know.
both of his dads. I wasn't talking about his mom. But yeah, wonderful movie. How do you feel about Doctor Strange giving him the stone? Obviously, Doctor Strange knew what he was doing. He gave Thanos the time stone for a reason. In the theater, when we saw, remember when Tony Stark gets stabbed in the fight with Thanos?
Mhm. Yeah,
People in the theater were
crazy.
during
Yeah.
that scene. That both of Infinity War
Did you
and
think he was gonna die when you first watched that?
but it was
Tense.
Yeah, it was tense for sure.
When I first saw Doctor Strange give him the stone, I was like, "What the hell are you doing? Are you crazy?" But then I thought back to what he said, and I was like, "Okay, I have a theory.
Yeah,
I have a theory."
This movie is so this would be the movie we would talk about all day. There's so many. This is probably I think
Good
this is the
action.
funniest MCU movie. Why is Gamora? And then everything with Guardians interact like they're like don't call us Plucky, we don't know what it means, and just all the interactions with the Guardians and everybody is so hilarious. Groot making the Thor's hammer
Yeah.
is such an awesome
Great
scene.
scene.
Thor, how do you feel? Is Thor arriving at Wakanda your favorite MCU scene?
Probably not my favorite, but it is a good scene. And Thor he wrecks like everybody in that scene.
Yeah, Thor's really
He's OP.
And
I love
this
Thor.
This is actually
that's good.
not an issue with Infinity War, but I guess we'll get into it more with Captain Marvel. But one of your issues with the MCU is kind of the power level
Yeah.
thing. They make Thor super overpowered, and then the first three phases, they make it seem like the Infinity Stones are the strongest things in the universe.
Yeah.
And then in Loki, you find out that they're just paperweights, and then the whole TVA things going on.
And then there's
And then
talk
there's-
about Eternals too.
Oh yeah, Eternals is
we'll get
all
into
that.
that. Yeah.
And then Captain Marvel introducing more OP characters, and then Secret Invasion apparently another characters introduced that's just super OP. But so yeah, it does kind of like throw some of it off a little bit, but that's more just kind of nitpick. And it is kind of an issue because characters are getting too OP and it's getting annoying. But it's kind of just a nitpick.
Yeah,
But that
it definitely is.
Staying on Infinity War, great movie. I love how Thanos is a very important part in this movie. He gets a lot of screen time. This movie's like 2 hours and 40 minutes.
Yeah, and I think all of it is perfect.
Moves
Yeah.
is so good. It barely feels like 2 hours.
Thanos is my favorite MCU villain.
Yeah, it's Loki is my favorite MCU villain, but Thanos
That's
is
fair.
an easy second. Awesome.
So this is
good.
S tier, obviously at the top for me.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with S tier, but I give it a 9.5. My one issue with this movie, when you start, the snap is obviously such an iconic moment. But when you start dusting off characters like Black Panther and Spider-Man, it's like, well, it's obvious they're going to bring them back. Like, they're not going to keep them killed off. And during the time Infinity War came out, No Way Home and Wakanda Forever were already revealed and announced. So seeing them fade away, it's just like, well, they're not going to cancel those movies. They're just going to bring them back in the next one. But
yeah, well,
I feel like that's just more of a nitpick, though, than an issue. But still.
It kind of is, because there's no shit they're going to bring them back. Like they wouldn't just continue a franchise just with this big hole in everybody's hearts. Obviously, they have to end this off in a way that's satisfying for everybody. And I think they did a great job. And the scene is still impactful, knowing they're going to come back and having watched everything else.
Yeah, great movie, easy S tier. I think Civil War is a little bit better. I think the Avengers is better. I think behind the Avengers. You want to put it behind the Avengers? You can put it. I think the first Avengers is the best movie. Best Avengers movie.
It won't let me. It will not let me.
There we go. Oh. Yeah, that's
I have
fine.
to. I'm sorry.
No, yeah, that's completely fine. Infinity War is spectacular.
Yeah.
Now,
all right.
Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Oh, okay.
You know your rating for Ant-Man and the Wasp?
I know my rating.
Ant-Man and the Wasp ratings
3, 2, 1, 6.5 out of 10.
Yeah, you're a little bit higher on this movie.
It's not bad.
Definitely not as good as Infinity War. This movie, I think it's a little bit too much hate.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I feel like many people probably this is one of the MCU movies not many people talk about, or like I feel like after in Infinity War people just kind of just like it's another stupid Ant-Man movie.
I watched this movie and after my first watch I was like, okay, that actually wasn't that bad. I liked this movie a little bit. 3.5 stars. And then after thinking about it for a while and digesting, I think it wasn't to that level, but it's still not that bad. It's still a fun movie.
It's definitely not the worst Ant-Man movie. Definitely not the best Ant-Man movie. It's just super fun.
Everything goes right, which makes sense after such a tragic movie like Infinity War. But I feel like something needed to.
It's just kind of a fun filler movie, you know?
Yeah.
I think Ant-Man is great as usual. I like the inclusion of the Wasp. I think she's really cool.
Ooh, it starts to. This is when you start to get into like the quantum realm and stuff. Just a little. They just put your foot into it, but yeah, not that much.
Dipping your toes into the water.
Dipping your toes into it. I don't like the quantum realm. We'll get into that. I don't like that idea at all.
It's definitely really dumb in quantum. It's definitely not that bad in Ant-Man and the Wasp because you don't really see it, but it's weird in Quantumania. Definitely not the movie you should release after Infinity War, but what can you do? I think this is a really fun movie. Luis is great, Ant-Man and his three friends, which we'll talk about it with Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, but the best part of one of the best things about the two Ant-Man movies is the three friends, the Russian guy, and then Luis and the other, they're all three.
They're great. Really funny.
Super funny. Yeah. Then they're just not in Quantumania, which is why that movie is.
It's not why that movie is bad.
Maybe.
It probably would have been worse if there was a whole side plot with them going on with everything that was already going on in that movie.
People think this movie is one of the worst movies in the MCU. It's not. No. It's fun. Not too much to talk because not much happens in this movie.
Yeah, it's in
You get the post-credit scene of them dusting away and everything. I think this is a fine movie. I don't want to put it in B tier, but I would give it a high C tier. I would put it above, between Age of Ultron and Black Panther.
I would put it below Black Panther and above Hulk.
All right, that's fine. Personally, I would put it above Black Panther, but if you want to put it right there,
I think it's. What did you rate Black Panther again?
5 out of 10.
Yeah, that's so low.
That movie's bad.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
I mean, like what? I mean, you talked about it. I get why you like it. It's just the story aspect just really isn't that strong to me, and just the CGI is consistently always bad in that movie, and it's constantly taking me out.
Okay.
But you gave it a 7 out of 10. You think it has problems too. But we're getting we're getting into an even worse Marvel movie.
Captain Marvel
ratings. 3, 2, 1,
3
4
out of
out
10.
of 10.
4 out of 10.
This movie's bad.
Mm-hmm.
This Captain Marvel's not great in this. I don't think she's great in that many MCU movies. She's probably her worst in this one. Nick Fury is not great in this movie.
I think this is a very forgettable movie.
Yeah,
too.
very forget. I don't fault you for not remembering, because I've seen this movie a couple. It's not a. I've seen it like 2 or 3 times. I didn't mind it when I first saw it in theaters, but then rewatching it, I realized, wow, that wasn't that great. But it's just like nothing really happens in the movie. You have her whole dementia thing going on, and
Dementia.
then the Skrulls from the comics are finally introduced. And then, how do you feel about the Skrulls, the green people,
Oh, okay.
the shapeshifters?
Yeah. What?
How do you feel about them?
Wait. I don't remember this at all.
You don't remember the green shapeshifters that were in the movie?
Shapeshifters.
The Skrulls. There's no way you don't remember the Skrulls. The elf ear, like the Skrulls.
They
like,
shapeshift?
yes. Remember when she's beating up the old lady in the train station? In the subway fight, the Captain Marvel subway fight. We talked about it. You were talking about, why does the MCU keep doing train fights? You remember the train fight in Captain Marvel?
No, bus fights. I said bus fights.
Bus fight, train fight,
Okay,
same thing.
okay,
You remember
yeah,
the bus fight in Captain
yeah.
Marvel? Remember
Okay,
when
with
she's
the old
punched?
lady who
That's a
was,
scroll.
was an alien. Okay.
It's a scroll. Like
They're called Skrulls. Okay, that's
and then remember
that's information to take in.
in the house scene, one of the Skrulls come up with he kind of sounds like this. One of the Skrulls sound like this. You know, okay, well that's wild. You cannot remember stuff from that movie, but not remembering the Skrulls is crazy. You just
Do they show up again?
Yeah, they do. You just
And what
must
movies?
have not.
What movies?
They show up again, and I know they show up again in the Far From Home post-credit scene, but you saw Far From Home like before like a lot of these movies, so
Yeah.
I can't blame you for that. But yeah, I guess you were snoozing off or something.
Yeah,
I think the Skrulls are fine. Nick Fury is obviously not great, like I said. It's just it's one of the worst origin stories.
I guess I'm just like hoping, because this movie was so shitty that my brain doesn't want to remember it or something.
I guess, but it's just it's rather boring. Like Iron Man origin story way better. Doctor Strange origin story is way better. Ant-Man's origin story is way better. Just very forgettable movie.
Now
it's
question. Oh, go ahead.
It's so dull, not fun at all. Which is where I think the Marvels improved slightly. Like the Marvels is kind of the opposite of Captain Marvel. But yeah, very forgettable, mediocre movie. I think this is a D tier.
I would argue F tier, but I think D tier is good.
Yeah, I don't think it's the worst movie in the MCU. I don't think it's good at all, but I would go.
Oh yeah, there's
low
worse.
D-tier.
There's more to put in F tier.
Low
later.
D tier. That's fine.
Low D tier. Boom.
This is gonna be an interesting one to talk about.
Yeah, it will be.
Take us in.
So, Avengers Endgame. Ratings. You ready?
Avengers Endgame ratings.
All right,
3, 2, 1.
8 out of 10.
7.5. 8 out of 10. That's fair. I love this movie a lot.
Yeah.
I love Endgame. Perfect, really good conclusion to the... Well, it's not the conclusion to the first 3. Far From Home is weird enough, the last movie in Phase 3. But Endgame's a really good movie. It's just... It has the best moments in the MCU, but it's just kind of messy. It has a lot of issues. What's your take on Endgame?
It is super fun. It's a great watch. Except when you notice the issues and you notice some stuff that's just like, let me just not think about that. For example, Thanos.
How do you feel about them killing off Thanos at the start?
That is just crazy, because you want them to be fighting the same Thanos that snapped, that won.
Had his whole character arc. Best villain in the MCU.
Yeah.
Perfectly fleshed out.
But no, you fight past Thanos that is trying to stop you from stopping him.
Why kill Thanos at the start of the movie if you're just going to have a big CGI battle at the end fighting him? Like, why not just use the Thanos who won it? It's just I really don't like how they bring him past.
They could have found some way to do that, but they didn't, and I think it still works fine. But if you think about it, then it's just kind of disappointing. but I can set that aside. The end battle was still amazing. Thanos is still good.
Obviously, I think we're both agree the time travel stuff isn't that great.
Yeah, that's
The-
my second issue.
The whole, I don't really want to fault this movie for, 'cause maybe it's just me not being able to fully understand how the time travel stuff works, but I think essentially, if you time travel or whatever, and then you mess with a certain number of events, it branches off into a new timeline.
They explain it more in Loki.
Yeah, I think if we watched the first, I wasn't that big on Loki season 1, but rewatching it, first 2 episodes, great. I really liked the first 2 episodes, so hopefully Loki continues to be good. But back to Endgame, I think the way they explain it isn't that great because they're not gonna, because with Loki, it's a show. They literally sit there and Loki explains his theory for like 15 minutes, and it's really entertaining. But that's because that's a show. And then in Endgame, they explain it for a little bit, and then you get to see it play out a lot better, the time travel. But we talked a little bit off camera about our issues with the time travel. Like,
It's weird, man. Like
it's weird.
It takes away all the stakes of like
Yeah.
the butterfly effect having one timeline.
Yeah, it's just like, who cares Iron Man died? Because we can just go back, get it, and get another one. I don't like. I get it's the safest way to approach time travel to avoid plot holes, because they try, even though it's a superhero movie, they try to keep it a little bit grounded and realistic. But I just don't think the way they use time. How do you feel about the time heist? Like, they're going back, getting all the stones from the older movies.
It's weird because when I first watched this movie and having no idea of how Loki further explains everything, I was like, wait, if they're taking the stone and then going back and replacing the stone going back to that time and replacing the stone again, how does that not just create a whole nother timeline again? Because if you even just moved a small air particle, wouldn't that change the timeline?
And if you remove the stone in the first place, it should still mess with something. It's just doesn't make a lot
butterfly
of
effect,
sense.
kind of, but just for another timeline, not your own.
It's just but I don't think it's not the worst thing in the world. It's just certainly not great. This movie's really long. How do you feel about the length of this movie?
It's fine. I think it's deserved for being an end movie and having so much epic things going on.
It needed to be that long, but I think it kind of drags, especially with the first hour. I think the movie drags a little bit. You don't think the movie drags?
I think it's paced pretty well.
Yeah, I just think it.
Not as well as Infinity War, but good.
The time heist I like the time heist, but the pacing is just and then I feel like it takes a little bit a while to get going at the start, but it's fine. Great conclusion. Definitely not better than, some people think this is better than Infinity War. Definitely not. Infinity War is way better.
I also think there's a lot of plot holes to the blip, the
oh yeah,
the second blip, the one where they come back. How do people who are flying planes just are they dead? Did they spawn in the air?
And they explain the whole people living in other people's houses thing in the Winter Soldier, but I never finished the Winter Soldier, so I don't really know. But there's just besides that, there's just so many like plot holes. But like, if you don't really ignore it, it's fine.
Yeah.
And you don't need to bring it up every other MCU movie. Like, I get it's a major event that happened, but in Shang-Chi, they bring it up like 3 times or something, and just like every MCU movie, they're bringing up like, oh, remember when half of us faded away? Like, yeah, we know it.
Yeah,
it
because I feel like a lot of the movies after that just kind of ignore it, but that I think the producers of Marvel understand that, and they try to bring these like. I'm sorry, I'm explaining this really bad, but they bring in these conversations about the blip to show people that, oh, we didn't forget about the blip. It did happen. It was a big event, you know.
It's just you get lines in Guardians 3 where Peter Quill's talking about half the universe being gone, but like that, it's important because he talks about it kind of being his fault, and that we need that because it's actually important to his story. But then in Shang-Chi, you get random characters like Katie just out of nowhere bringing up the snap, and it just like it's really just out of line in my opinion. But Endgame is a great movie, just has a lot of issues. I would put this in B tier.
I would put it in let's see. I would put it. Yeah, B tier is good.
A high B. I give it a high B.
Yeah, above Ant-Man.
I think Ant-Man's a little bit better, but if you want to put it above Ant-Man, that is completely
Yeah, above
fine.
Ant-Man, below Iron Man. Thank you for giving me that.
You ready for Spider-Man Far From Home?
Yes.
Spider-Man Far From Home ratings. 3, 2.
Wait.
You take us into this one.
Oh, there it is. It was right there. Okay. Spider-Man Far From Home rating 3, 2, 1, 7 out of 10.
7 out of 10, a little bit higher. Great. Some people think this is one of the worst Spider-Man movies.
Yeah,
Definitely
I don't
not.
see why. It's actually a pretty fun movie.
Significant improvement from Homecoming, in my opinion. I think this movie's first 2 acts are kind of but I think the third act really picks up. Everything with Mysterio and the drones at the end is great. Action is great. I don't mind how they tie Mysterio back to Iron Man. I like how he has like the CGI monsters and stuff, like his suit is fake. I just don't think he's really that interesting. Like, I don't really care for him. Like, I like what they do with him. It's just I don't really care for him. Like, it works, but I don't care for him.
The mind-altering stuff that happens to Peter at the end, or nearing the end, is actually really interesting, I feel. It's almost like a double dream. Have you ever had a double dream where you wake up and you're in your room, and then you wake up again? It was actually a dream.
Yeah.
That's kind of how it was. And I really enjoyed that. There were a lot of aspects to Mysterio that were really good like that. And the final battle was really good, of course. And then his origin story was kind of where he falters a bit.
How do you feel about Iron Man leaving the glasses to Peter and then Peter giving the glasses to Mysterio? The Edith glasses.
Why? I mean, he gets it back, right?
Yeah, but he gets it back, but it's just dumb. Not even bad. Just dumb writing, in my opinion. Not even bad.
Kind of stupid, yeah. Like why? He goes out of his way to give it to him too. He's just like, I just realized you're the one who needs these glasses.
It's really
it's
I
silly.
feel like Peter wouldn't do that. But I don't think this movie's terrible. It's just fun. It's fun.
Let's
it's
see.
funny like Homecoming. I think Homecoming might be a little bit funnier.
I'd put it above Age of Ultron, but that's just me. I'll give it to you.
Oh yeah, no, I think they're about on the same level, but I gave Age of Ultron a higher rating, but I feel like the third act of Far From Home is better than the third act of Age of Ultron. So if you want to put it above Age of Ultron, that's fine.
All right.
I definitely keep it in C tier.
Yeah, C tier for sure.
It's just a fun movie. How do you feel about the whole Europe thing? Like, how do you feel about him not being in New York and like him on a school trip?
I'm fine with that, and I think it's fine, but I would have been a little happier with that if the first Spider-Man Homecoming, actually did have more New York City scenes and more classic Spider-Man stuff. Because you don't get it in this movie. You get it more in
You get it a little bit at the
No
end
Way
with
Home.
him swinging around at the bridge and stuff, but not really.
Yeah. But it's all right.
High C tier?
Yeah. I see tier.
So you want to put it above Age of Ultron? Yeah, that's fine. Phase 3. Before we get into Phase 4, just want to say Phase 3, I'm sure you're going to agree, easily the best phase in the MCU. So it has some of the best movies.
Of course. All right, Phase 4. Now, moving on to Black Widow.
Black
Widow rating in 3, 2, 1, 4
6
out of 10.
4 out of 10, really?
Yeah.
You're a little bit lower on this movie.
Yeah, I'll go 5 out of 10 because I kind of rushed these ratings, and you know that because I was supposed to write them down earlier and I didn't.
You're fine, but
yeah, I'll go 5 out of 10.
I think this movie's fine. It's just so average. Just like,
I agree.
if I had to describe average or just fine, Black Widow is, the thing. One of the, I hope you agree, one of the strongest openings to
I agree. I really like this opening.
Yeah, the opening is really dark. Nothing like we've seen before.
It made it seem like we were gonna get more of that. More of Black Widow's early years, dealing with the Red Room stuff. Not really. Immediately after, it goes into her life out of that.
One of my biggest issues with there's just one of my biggest issues with this movie. There's a lot of just weird shit in this movie. Like, for a second, she's like, the mom does this thing on her phone and she starts suffocating a pig out of nowhere. And I get it's like kind of important to the plot or whatever, but I feel like just weird stuff happens in this movie. How do you feel about David Harbour as the Red Guardian from Stranger Things?
What?
The dad from Hopper from Stranger Things.
Yeah. I was like, from Stranger. I like him. I like him a lot, actually. Funny. Yeah, he's funny. Very change of character from the opening scene.
Yeah. Because he's been in prison for so long.
Oh.
Do you think he actually fought Captain America?
Maybe. I don't know.
Maybe. I will never know. Maybe we'll find out.
I think he did. I don't think he did.
You excited for it's Thunderbolts is going to be like this Suicide Squad of the Marvel, and it's gonna have
him.
It's gonna have most of the Black. It's gonna have Yelena, Black Widow's sister, then Taskmaster, then Red Guardian. How do you feel about Taskmaster? You don't remember Taskmaster?
No, I remember Taskmaster.
It seems like you didn't remember Taskmaster. I don't think she's terrible, but I don't think it's that great. He's way cooler in some of like the animated.
Oh, the villain, yeah.
Yeah,
I was lying. Okay.
Oh my God.
If you just said the villain, I would understand what you mean, but I don't remember anybody's names. Okay.
She there are things she fights like the other Avengers, and I think the whole Dreykov thing at the end, where he like if you smell him you can't attack him, I think that's so stupid. That's just dumb.
Oh yeah.
I do like Black Widow breaking her nose though. Like that was like a woo.
Oh yeah, that was a creative way to do it.
Very good scene.
Just
very
like
good scene.
Ouch, but it works. I want to go back to Taskmaster for a second. That plot twist, that was a plot twist, and I predicted it.
It's not a great plot twist.
Was it predictable though? Do you think so?
I mean, it's just I don't think it's that predictable. I mean, I guess it's because
I was pretty proud of myself that I predicted that. So
it's not shocking.
Yeah.
I don't think it's predictable, but it's just not shocking. You know, this movie is just fine. There's some fine stuff in it, but there's some really bad stuff in it. How do you feel about the CGI in this one?
The CGI, from what I remember, was all right. I think.
There was some bad. A lot of people say this is a really bad looking movie. I think for the most part, it looks pretty good.
I think I was already kind of brainwashed by the bad CGI I've seen from other movies by the time I watched this.
There's some bad CGI moments, but it's not that bad. It's definitely not D tier. I think C tier is a good spot to put this one.
Sure, yeah. I would put it below
C. Below Ant-Man.
I would put it below Homecoming, but yeah, sure.
Homecoming. I would put it behind Ant-Man and the Wasp. I think is fair.
Yeah, that works. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, I want to say we watched a lot of Phase 4 and Phase 5 out of order.
Well, because we went and saw the Marvels in theaters midway through our binge, so we just decided, okay, let's just watch Phase 5 before Phase. And it's kind of an issue. You need to watch the first 3 phases of the MCU in order. Which we did.
But you do not need to watch any of them.
You don't need to watch
order.
Phase 4 or 5 in order.
Because there's nothing big. There's nothing like an Avengers movie or anything that happened like that. The closest thing we got to that was what? The Marvels, which
Quantumania, which fails.
Oh yeah, Quantumania. Well, that's a setup movie. It's kind of like the Winter Soldier. Not really the Winter Soldier.
You ready to talk about Shang-Chi?
But yeah, all right. Shang-Chi
and the Legend of the Ten Rings rating.
Here we're gonna disagree. I know that.
3, 2.
Yeah.
Shang-Chi
3
and the Legend of the Ten Rings rating. 3, 2, 1.
7 out of 10. Yeah, this movie was good, man.
You're a little bit higher on it. I don't think this movie is that great. Obviously, we get introduced to one of the most annoyingest characters in the MCU.
She was kind of annoying. She was not as annoying as the girl from Thor.
Because the girl from Thor, she's annoying, but you don't see her a lot. Katie is in this movie the entire time, and I don't like
Awkwafina as an actor, but she didn't do that bad in here. she was not that annoying.
No, she was.
She was
bad.
maybe
She
a little
really
annoying
bad.
at the start, but I think towards the end she improved quite a bit.
I think this movie starts out fine. Some of the best fights in the MCU. I think a lot of the CGI in this movie is not great. Some of the stuff.
It works. It's not that bad.
I did not. I was not. I mean, I don't think a lot of it was good. I think this movie truly falls off when they get into like the bamboo. Like they're going. They
Yeah,
find
I
Maurice
disagree.
and they go through the bamboo land.
I disagree. I like all that stuff. Really,
I think the movie falls off hard by the third act.
I like the father and son stuff because the father actually he actually loves his children. But
The father and son stuff is great. Probably the best thing about the movie. But unfortunately, by the time you get to the third act, you kill him off, and then you get this big dumb CGI dragon battle. It looks terrible. How do you feel about the dragon battle at the end?
I like it, man. It's not bad.
I don't. I think
and killing him off. What else would you really do with that character? Shang-Chi was the most important part.
I wanted to see Shang-Chi and his dad fight. I didn't want to see two CGI dragons. Like I can barely tell what's like happening. Like I don't think it looks that great. Like you get the awesome,
but they did fight a little bit, not much though.
Not much because they were using the 10 rings, so they barely got to do the they have
the hand-to-hand combat was like some of the best action.
Yeah,
you can find in this movie.
You get the scene with him, Shang-Chi fighting his sister, then the bust action sequences, and then literally all the action sequences, and then you get to the third act of the movie, him and his dad finally about the battle, and then his dad dies, and then the dragons. I just think the dragons are stupid.
That's a good point.
Because it's built,
but it's still satisfying.
It builds up.
Anyways.
It builds up to the father and son having this epic battle, and then the dragons come out of nowhere, literally nowhere. And again, I think a lot of the CGI in this movie, and I really dislike Katie as a character, and it's just you're a little bit high. What do you like? Like what are the main positives?
Well, I told you. I think I like Shang-Chi. I like
Shang-Chi.
I like his father relationship, of course. That's great. The whole build up into the third act was good. Everything that happens in that was taking place in China was great. Yeah, the third act was. I liked it, even though I understand what you're coming at with you want to see the father and son fight more. Which now that you're pointing that out, I agree. But I still thought it was satisfying at the moment. In the moment, and I still think it's satisfying now. So I'm excited to see Shang-Chi. He's probably the only person, one of the few people I'm excited to see more of in the MCU.
Yeah, I like Shang-Chi, but I really just for the most part disagree. That third act really falls apart for me, man. Like it could have been if you remove Aquafina and make the Shang-Chi and the dad actually fight at the end. It had a potential to be a pretty good movie, but just where I would lean more towards D tier for this movie, but I know you're higher on it. I think we need to move down Black Widow, Hulk, or Homecoming to D tier. Which one of those three do you want to move to D tier? I think we need
Hulk. Maybe Hulk and Homecoming.
Let's move down Hulk to D tier, and then put Shang-Chi in C tier. Yeah, that's fine. And then Shang-Chi in C.
I think above Black Widow, and I would put it above.
I like it better than I like Ant-Man and the Wasp a little bit better, but that's fine. If you want to put it right there, that's fine. I think Ant-Man and the Wasp is a little bit better. That's fine, though.
We're going to go over our personal list very quickly at the end. All right.
Eternals.
Okay, another one we're going to really disagree on here.
You do the countdown for this one.
All right, Eternals rating 3, 2, 1, 3 out of 10. This movie was so boring, bro.
3 out of 10
You are
way
crazy.
too low. Nah.
No, this movie even gets rated like a 40% on Rotten Tomatoes.
I don't get why this movie is rated so low. It is better than Shang-Chi. It is probably the second best movie and probably the third best movie in Phase 4.
There are so many characters. I don't care about any of them except for maybe like one a little bit. And
who was your favorite Eternal?
You know that. You know the one. You know the one. I forget his name.
I don't know the one. I don't know his.
At the end, I think it's your favorite Eternal too.
Oh, Druig, the guy who can mind control
Yes.
everybody. Yeah.
That's my favorite Eternal.
Can you even name any of the Eternals?
No, I can't.
You can't name a
I
single.
can't name a single
Not a
because
single
it's
Eternal?
so forgettable. I do not care about
Were
any.
you just not paying attention?
No, I was paying attention, but I
Okay.
just don't care. Let me try to think.
I can name all 10 of them probably off the top of my head.
10.
There's 10 Eternals. 5. You get a chance to
Mia?
name one of them, huh?
Is one of them named Mia?
No,
No.
one of them is not named.
Is it close?
No.
Ah.
There's Icarus, Phastos, Ajax, Druid, Cersei, Sprite, Kingo, Gilgamesh, Thena, and there's one I'm missing. And then the super fast deaf girl. I forgot her name, I'm going to be honest. This movie is super hated. It's something very different, which is why I think I like it. It's something we've never seen before in the MCU. I don't think the CGI completely falls apart in the third act, unlike Shang-Chi. I think the CGI in Eternals is really good. I love the way they use their powers. Like, I love Icarus, how he's basically Superman. I love how he flies around and the laser eyes look great. I love, like, the gold look of their powers. I love the ways their outfits look. How do you feel about the reasoning for them not interfering with any of the Avengers events and whatnot?
I think it's just an excuse to bring them in late. I feel like it's stupid because I brought up a reason why it was stupid for them not to interfere with Infinity War. I forget exactly the reason I brought up. Do you remember?
No, I don't. But it's just kind of a lazy reason. So you just think this movie's boring?
It's super boring. 2 hours and 30 minutes long and terrible pacing.
I don't think I get the pacing's a little bit off because, balancing time. The pacing is really kind of like an Oppenheimer where you're cutting back the future, present, and stuff. I think when they're cutting back like that in Eternals, it's a little bit eh.
At least in Oppenheimer, you have black and white.
Yeah, but I think the third act in Eternals is great. I think you remember how Icarus turns out the Superman guy in the blue turns out to be the villain. I think that's a really interesting twist. How do you feel about that?
I didn't care. I feel like did I also predict that one? Because there were a couple twists that
I don't think
I don't think I did.
That one. That one was. I thought it was done super well. I thought how they take him out is super awesome. Just the dude Phastos, the guy from Bullet Train, building the machines and stuff and able to trap Icarus, I think is really nice. I love at the end when Druig just slaps the rock against I don't really care for the little girl Eternal Sprite who can shapeshift in the other people. It's not great. But I think the way Cersei touches stuff and everything changes. The super speed girl, I think when she's running around and the super speed stuff looks great. I just think that the CGI in this movie is really good. I really like the characters. I like how it offers something different. It's a 7 out of 10 for me. Obviously, it has issues. I guess it's a little bit. It is kind of a little bit too long. I just think it's a little bit fun and it's something different, and I liked it.
Yeah, it's different. I like when MCU movies do things differently, but it went a bad way, in my opinion. It took a wrong turn or something because it was just so boring. I did not care for the characters. I don't see how they will return, and if they do, I don't really care for them. I don't know how they're gonna make me care for them. And also, we were talking about this earlier, but the power situation, this kind of made me even more confused. So what is their power level? Are they above the Infinity Stones?
I think.
Did they get snapped away?
I think there probably is. I think they're probably stronger than all the Infinity Stones put together. I don't know, like with Thanos and the Gauntlet. Thanos is probably. I think if all the 10 Eternals are teaming up fighting Thanos with the fully powered Gauntlet, they're probably winning.
Oh yeah, they would win.
But if there was only like half of them, it's just no, man. It's really it is starting to become like like I said, it's more of a nitpicky thing, but it is starting to become an issue when you keep introducing these just such powerful characters, and it's just kind of removes stakes for like you see something like Eternals. These guys are so powerful, and then you move on to a show like Miss Marvel, where it's some teenager girl just dealing with a little trouble in her own city. So it's just, you know, but I like how they did something different in this movie. You obviously think it's boring. I disagree. How do you feel about the CGI in this movie?
It's kind of similar thing with Black Widow. I didn't notice anything bad with the CGI. There might have been, but at that point, watching Marvel, I was just really looking for the story, and as long as the CGI wasn't noticeable, then I was fine.
I just think Eternals is a pretty looking movie. I think all the actors and actresses are very handsome and pretty. I think just the Eternals look great. I'm not pumped for an Eternals 2 or anything, but like I would like to see some of these characters return because I did think of them, some of them were interesting. I could see why this everyone's I think it's ridiculous you give it a 3 out of 10. That's way too low. I think it's clearly better than movies like Shang-Chi and some of the other garbage in Phase 4. But we have a lot in C. I know you're leaning more towards an F.
Yeah, I put this in F tier.
Then yeah, no, that's crazy. I would. Would you agree on a high D?
I'll take a high D. Yeah,
a high D. Yeah, I would put it.
Sounds really bad. I will take a high D.
Above Iron Man 2 or above the Incredible Hulk?
I'll put it above Iron Man 2,
Okay,
obviously. I'm trying to put it as low as possible, but
yeah. Behind the Incredible Hulk is fine.
All right, okay.
I like Eternals. I
don't. if you couldn't already tell.
Yeah.
All right, so let's bring it back up. There's our list so far.
Looking pretty good so far.
Yeah, very, very strange shape here.
Strange shape here, but moving on to
Ooh. All right.
Really great one right here. Excited.
Yeah, really great one. Next up is Spider-Man No Way Home.
Spider-Man No Way Home.
Spider-Man No Way Home rating in 3, 2, 1, 9 out of 10.
5 out of 10. This movie is wonderful. Is this the best live action Spider-Man movie?
Yes.
Easily.
Yes.
I think
actually,
it's easily.
Yeah, I think it beats.
It beats TASM 2 and Spider-Man 2.
2. Yeah. Just because of how awesome it is for a Spider-Man film.
It's so good.
Spider-Man 2 would be better for a Spider-Man.
Nah, I think No Way Home is better in like every. I'm not as I give like Spider-Man 2 an 8 out of 10. I'm a bit lower on it than everybody else, but I still love Spider-Man 2. No Way Home is great. I want to immediately get off the bat. There's a lot. I've seen a lot of haters for this movie nowadays.
Yeah.
And people say like if you like it's just you only like it because first you didn't grow up with the Spider-Man movies and you watched all of them and then No Way Home like pretty much like back to back and you liked No Way Home and you didn't grow up with TASM or the Tobey Maguire movies and you acknowledged it for being a great movie. They bring back all the villains in such a good way. They do them all justice. The way they bring back the 3 Spider-Men is amazing.
Yeah, it's fucking amazing.
People hate the TASM. We're TASM defenders, but people hate those movies, and they give you a reason to care for the TASM characters in this movie, which I think is great. I think this is the least funny of the Spider-Man Home trilogy, but the 3 Spider-Man interacting is hilarious. Yeah. The villains interacting are hilarious. It's just a miracle.
It's so fulfilling. If you watch all of the Spider-Man movies together like we did, it is a perfect ending.
Just hits. My favorite scene in the MCU, the all 3 Spider-Man swinging together and landing on top of the Statue of Liberty is peak. Everything is so good. The ending is great. Do you think they should bring back Zendaya and Ned?
No.
Yeah, no, I don't think they should.
No, they shouldn't. My favorite scene, one of my favorite scenes in the entire MCU is when Andrew Garfield Spider-Man catches Zendaya from falling.
Yeah, it's so
because
good.
that hits
the
so
audience
hard.
Reactions.
If you understand what's going on there, and the implications from TASM 2, then it hits so hard. It's just so beautiful.
I would give this a 10 out of 10, but there is some issues with it. Some of the CGI isn't that great, especially with some of the Doctor Strange mirror dimension stuff. Looks cool, but I think some of the backgrounds during the Doctor Strange fight look a little bit Just some of the CGI looks weird. Obviously, I think I know a little bit how you feel about this. You don't really like Doctor Strange in this
No,
movie?
I
Why
think,
not?
I-
Explain to me.
because I think he kind of acts
Irresponsibly.
not irresponsibly, just kind of, I don't know how to describe it, but I'll just say this. It was a little bit of his fault too, definitely.
Nah.
Yes,
I don't
because he just starts making the spell just without asking, like, do you want anything? Just, okay, oh yeah, perfect idea. Make everybody forget about him. Because he's not going to want anybody to remember him, of course. Of course he's going to want his family to remember about him. Of course he's going to, Peter Parker is going to intervene with the spell and be like, wait, don't do that. I think any Spider-Man would.
But since he did that, his aunt ends up getting killed, and everybody ends up like, it's they even make it a point like Spider-Man goes that Doctor Strange initially doesn't want to help him at first, but then he realizes he's like, well, I saved the universe with this kid, and not only his life, but all of his friends and stuff lives are kind of being screwed up from what he did. If Peter literally just would just kept his mouth shut during the Doctor Strange spell, like everything would have just been fine. Like he did not have.
No, but
to,
it makes
he did not have
makes
to do that.
sense that he
It
wanted
makes sense.
to change
It drives the plot, but it just
Anybody would.
that's not Doctor Strange's fault for the spell. And when the spell goes wrong, Doctor Strange contains it, and everything's fine. Doctor Strange contains the spell, but then when the villains start coming out, and then Doctor Strange has all the escaped villains trapped, Peter then takes the box from him and gets all the villains released. So it is not Doctor Strange's fault at all. It's Peter. He takes the box and releases. Doctor Strange had them all trapped, and he was about to send them all back and fix everything. Even if you could say you don't like the way how he helped Peter, regardless, he was literally about to fix everything, and Peter again goes and messes it up. So
And I feel like there's some plot holes with that too. There is a lot of plot holes
definitely.
with how that affects their universe, with everybody being now fixed and everything. All the canon events that would have happened are now changed, right?
But does it really matter? Is any of it really like any of the?
I feel
issues
like
or
I think
plot
it would
holes
just
really
branch off into another universe. That's for the TVA to deal with now.
But does any of the issues really matter? Because the third act of this movie is just you don't.
It's kind of like Endgame, like where it's in the back of your head, but it doesn't really matter too much.
And the weaknesses in Endgame are way stronger
Yeah.
than the weaknesses in No Way Home.
I agree.
But even if Andrew and Toby weren't there, and it was just like a Tom movie focusing on these villains, I feel like I feel like it would have been just as good. And just the fact they brought. You disagree?
Yeah, I disagree. I
Really?
think because the movie is built around that. It's not like they were just added in for fun and they could have been taken out and it would have just been perfectly fine. No, the movie's built around the different Spider-Man and the different villain from those Spider-Man movies. So I feel like taking it out would drastically drop the movie.
Yeah, I've always had this take, but even I rewatched No Way Home yesterday. It's just such a rewatchable movie. I was rewatching yesterday though, and then even the whole time Toby and Andrew aren't there, I'm really enjoying the movie. Like I enjoy seeing Tom's story, and I really think, of course I wouldn't want them taken out. But if Toby and Andrew weren't there, I still think it would still be the best live action Spider-Man movie. It's still such a strong Tom story because even though the other two Spider-Men are there and they're awesome, by the end of the movie, it's still Tom's movie. Like they didn't bring him in so like they could steal the show or anything, and
that's
they
what
did
makes it
steal
so
the show.
great.
But yeah, it's still Tom's movie, and their inclusion is great and makes this movie so much better. But you really, I'm glad they had them. But I feel like if they really didn't have, I feel like this movie would be just as strong if they didn't have them, because I feel like the story they were trying to tell with, just Peter's really sacrificing stuff in this movie, and that's like the main thing. How do you feel about the Aunt May death?
Oh, it was great. It was unexpected.
Very unexpected.
Oh, and with great power comes great responsibility. Peter is actually having like very bad things happen to him, and he's becoming Spider-Man. for
And one of
once.
my main issues with Homecoming, he throws no punches in that movie. They
Mm-hmm.
they fixed that in this movie. That awesome fight sequence when he's punching Goblin,
Yeah.
and just everything about this movie is great. They paid attention to the negatives with the first two MCU Spider-Man movies, and they just made this one great. This is a clear S tier for me. I love
Yeah,
this movie.
I agree. Even though it's a 9 out of 10 for me because of some problems I have,
Still,
I think it's still
fantastic.
S tier.
The perfect Spider-Man movie.
I would put it at the bottom of S tier though, like right at the end,
That's fine.
below Civil War.
Yeah, that's fine. I think Civil War is better. I like yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Okay, and a drastic change in pace here.
Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness ratings. Are you ready for this
I
one?
am ready.
Do you say it and take a second?
All right. Okay, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness ratings. 3, 2, 1, 1.5 out of 10.
1.5. This is the worst movie in the MCU. This movie's a
Surprise.
disaster.
Ah.
This is bad. 1.5. That is really low.
It's just 0.5 points on
Yeah,
it too.
but this first movie to come out after No Way Home, it just definitely not. I think this is clearly the worst MCU. I mean, I think there's stuff I like better in Thor: The Dark World. This movie's just terrible.
Right.
Doctor Strange is one of the best MCU characters, and he does almost nothing in his own movie. It's more of Wanda's movie, if anything.
I agree.
Wanda's character change is terrible, and she's at her worst in this movie easily. There's just let's just get this off the bat. How do you feel about the Illuminati?
Oh yeah, so that's the group with
Reed
some
Richards
of
and
the
the
Fantastic Four
and the
people.
X-Men.
So weird and just like I don't care for this at all.
Do you think it's cool how Wanda kills them all though?
She kills them all.
I like how she kills them all. I don't think I think it's stupid, but I think this movie could be like a 0.5 out of 10.
Yeah.
But I think this movie gets really, the one slight positive of this movie is how I think it gets so wacky. There's slightly entertaining scenes that last for like 5 seconds and then it's immediately ruined or whatever. Like the Illuminati stuff is cool, but after, like, it's just the dialogue in this movie is just so bad. How do you feel about the CGI in this movie?
CGI is not good.
It's terrible,
Yeah.
terrible.
I noticed it.
How do you feel about
So that's
America
not good.
Chavez?
I didn't like her.
I didn't dislike her, but she just does like nothing in this movie.
And this movie is very forgettable and boring, I think.
Yeah, it's maybe not so much forgettable, but it's just really
It's not
boring.
forgettable because you remember how bad it is.
The best thing about the first Doctor Strange is the visuals, and there's like no cool visuals in this movie. A lot of people like the musical note fight. You remember when they fight with the music notes?
Vaguely.
Do you like that fight scene, or how do you feel about that? Because people love that, and I just think it's CGI looks. When Doctor Strange finds his evil version of himself, and they get out the books and they're throwing music notes at each other and stuff. This movie's not great.
I don't care.
Unfortunately, some people really love this movie. So this is a lot of people really like this movie. This movie's terrible.
Yeah.
I'm sorry if you like this
I don't know
movie.
what else to say. It was just so boring for me.
CGI was bad. It's just
Okay, let me ask you a question. What do you think is the biggest crime a movie can commit?
It's just one of the biggest crimes a movie can commit is obviously just like you're watching, like it's kind of like when I was watching Across the Spider-Verse in the theater, like not once to myself did I think like I'm watching a movie, like I'm sitting down watching a movie, like I'm sucked into the world, I'm locked in, I'm only paying attention, like my 100% of my mind is focused on that. And it's like movies like Multiverse of Madness, it's like every other second I feel like I could get on when I'm watching Multiverse of Madness, I feel like I could be doing so many other things better. And like I love Doctor Strange, and the biggest crime this movie commits is that you take a really good character like Doctor Strange and then you just make the audience not care for him anymore. Like you just make it boring. You make it just it's the worst movie. We said it's the worst movie in the MCU. I just really hate everything this did.
Yeah, I agree. I think the worst crime a movie can commit is being boring, and this movie definitely does that. And like you said, the feeling of I could be doing something better with my time. So I think easy F tier. Obviously,
worst movie in the MCU. How do you It's not a multiverse of madness. He goes to two different universes in this movie. If it was named Doctor Strange in the Wanda movie, it might go up like 1 or 2 points. But if your movie is Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, and it is not a Multiverse of Madness, like the title alone literally like drops that movie by like probably half a point for me. It's so stupid.
The title should be Crazy Wanda and Doctor Strange and a girl.
Yeah, this movie is a disaster. It's terrible. Like this is the first movie I watched. Like I came off really high after No Way Home. I was watching this movie. I was like, "Is Marvel is gonna be going downhill, man." They and like and Infinity War and Endgame was so great, and then No Way Home was spectacular. It's just no way they're living up to the hype, and that continues to prove with these next few. You ready for Thor: Love and Thunder?
I have a question. Is that girl from Multiverse of Madness gonna be in the Young Avengers?
Probably. I don't see how they would make her fit in, but probably.
All right.
Thor: Love and
Thunder. Thor: Love and Thunder. Go ahead.
Thor: Love and Thunder ratings in 3, 2, 1. 6 out of 10.
5.5 out of 10.
5.5.
Very similar.
Some people think this is the worst Thor movie. No. There's way worse Thor movies.
I put this at number 3, honestly.
This is my second. I don't like this, but this is the second favorite. I think it's better than the first two. People's main. How do you feel about the comedy in this movie?
It's all right.
Yeah, people hate this movie. Some people think this is the worst movie in the MCU, which I just really disagree with. But people's like main issue is they think the comedy is really bad, and they think they drag on jokes for way too long. I don't think that's necessarily the case. Thor, when Korg, you seem like Korg's about to die. Thor takes that seriously. When Thor is fighting Gore, whenever there's fighting going on, Thor is taking it seriously. He's taking Jane somewhat seriously for the most part. When he's trying not to get her to use the hammer and stuff because he knows it's gonna happen.
Yeah,
like there's some serious stuff in this movie. How do you feel about Gore the God Butcher?
I like him, but he doesn't really do much
in this movie,
at all, and that's my biggest problem. He's a great idea for a villain.
Really cool, really scary. Like when he's like looking at the kids,
great
he's like
actor too.
Like Pennywise with all the kids and stuff scaring them. Yeah, great actor.
So
obviously,
hyped
Christian
for
Bale.
Patrick Bateman, and he's not really that much of a psychopath killer like he was in American
He does
Psycho.
not really murder any gods. They show it on a few cameras in the Guardian ship at the start. Guardians are in this movie in the intro just to kind of get people hyped for Guardians 3.
The Council of the Gods thing, I think they're going to do something with that later in another Thor movie, maybe.
With Hercules and stuff. You excited for Thor 5? Apparently,
yeah, because it can actually be an interesting concept.
Apparently, they're going to try to make it like a darker movie. There's been rumors Thor 5 is going to be a little bit darker. So.
Is it going to have a new director?
Yeah.
I'm sure
good.
Good.
The screaming goats are obviously unfunny. Do you like the screaming
I thought
goats?
it would have. Hold on.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Go on.
Yeah, I was gonna go on with a point. I thought it would be really cool if the God Butcher ends up actually slaughtering this whole council of the gods, and it's like this crazy. Oh shit! This is actually very serious. He just slaughtered the entire council, and like
he's talked as of a threat, but when you see him, he is not a threat at all. I like the black and white world they fight in at the end. The screaming goats are obviously annoying. Korg is pretty annoying in this movie, but he gets that one funny joke at the end with him being gay. But yeah, there's just... This movie's not that bad, as people say. It's entertaining. It's fun. It's not the best Thor movie, obviously. I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. There's a lot of unfunny stuff to it. But some of the action's fine. I like Thor as a character. I don't care for Jane Foster, but I think she's best in this movie.
Better than Thor 1.
Yeah, and Thor also when Valkyrie gets stabbed, he's also taken that seriously and stuff. But yeah, middle of the road, not that bad. I would put this high D above the Incredible Hulk.
Me too.
That's fair.
Next up is
Black Panther,
Black
Wakanda
Panther,
Forever.
Wakanda Forever.
The last movie in Phase 4.
Yeah.
Black
Alright.
Panther, Wakanda Forever ratings in 3,
3,
2,
2,
1,
1,
7 out of 10.
6.5 out of 10.
6.5.
That is crazy that you think this is better than the original
Yeah,
Black
I
Panther.
think this is a significant improvement from the first Black Panther.
The CGI is better. That is pretty much the only thing I think is better.
I kind of think it's weird how this is kind of just side characters, the movie. When I first saw this movie in theaters, I fell asleep almost instantly. So rewatching this kind of it caught me off guard because I don't like the Black Panther. I like Shuri. I think Shuri is pretty good in this movie. I don't mind her. I like how they're making her the new Black Panther. I think M'Baku's a fine side character.
The villain, I actually like the
Namor,
villain.
I really like Namor as a villain too. He's pretty cool. I think the third act is a little bit lame. I think the suits they give Okoye and Naki, those two, you know, those blue suits they gave, those just looked so weird. There's some pretty fun action sequences in this movie, like Okoye fighting the 3 fish people at the start. The opening is pretty good with T'Challa. By the way, rest in peace, Chadwick Boseman. They finished like the script and everything for Wakanda Forever. Like they had Wakanda Forever planned out, announced even before Endgame and stuff came out, and then he died. Like that is
They
so
had to
tragic.
change everything.
Change everything. That is so tragic.
It's very sad.
How do you feel about the new Iron Man, Ironheart, the Riri Williams girl?
Yeah. I
think
don't
she's
care
that
for her
great.
at all.
I think she's fine. I think her suit looks. How do you feel about her suit?
I don't like it at all. It looks very bad. Very
it's
downgrade
weird.
from what Iron Man looks like.
It kind of takes me out of it. It's just really weird. I don't like any of the suits in this movie. I think Namor I think he's cool, but his design isn't that great. The new Black Panther suit has some weird design choices on it. The blue suits, obviously, I talked about were weird. It's just this movie definitely caught me off guard, though. It's definitely one of the darker MCU movies because it's like they're not gonna make Chadwick Boseman die, obviously, so it's gonna be they can't really make light of that.
I actually thought it was gonna be more focused on Black Panther. I thought Black Panther was gonna be in here actually. I thought they were gonna like deep fake him or something, and do something terrible, but
Honestly
they didn't, and it actually worked out good enough for what they had to deal with.
Before I say this, how did you feel about the ending with Black Panther having a kid with him having a kid with Nakia, and then the kid Black Panther showing up at the end? How do you feel about that? I don't like it.
I don't like it either.
I would have rather just you don't have him and you don't even recast him. You don't deep fake him or anything. Like he's not there the whole movie, and then at the end you just give him a kid. Like it's just out of nowhere and it's weird, and I don't like it. Just like I thought we had Shuri as Black Panther.
Yeah.
Why do we need another one?
In case that people don't like Shuri.
So I don't know, man. I don't. It's not
Yeah,
that I hate it. I just don't care for it. I thought it was very unnecessary.
I feel like it was just to carry on Black Panther. They panicked when rest in peace he passed away, but I feel like they just did this as we need to wait to carry on Black Panther. We'll make it his kid. And I didn't like it. I would rather them just end it or just keep Shuri as Black Panther. That would be good enough for me.
And so you like the first Black Panther better than this one?
Definitely.
Yeah, that's I guess that's not very surprising since I just figured out how you felt about it. Yeah, I think this one, like I said, caught me off guard. I liked it. It has its issues. I would put this high C tier above the first Black Panther. I know. All right, we'll put it above Shang-Chi. Under Black Panther, above Shang-Chi.
I agree with that. That's fine. Good enough for me.
Nice. All right, moving on to Phase 5, the most recent phase in the MCU.
I'm excited to talk about this. All right.
Ant-Man
and
and
the
the
Wasp.
Quantumania. You know you're ready?
Yes.
3, 2, 1.
2.5 out of 10.
2.5.
Oh my
That's low.
gosh. Yeah. This movie is really bad. I'm surprised you
It's
give it a
terrible.
4 out of 10.
So I feel like there's a lot of good, not good. No, there's not a lot of good stuff in this movie, but there's some good stuff in this movie. I think the CGI is not the best, but I think some of it looks decent.
I absolutely hate the quantum realm.
Yeah, the quantum realm in
And
this
I
movie
hope
is just,
they don't do that with the Kang Dynasty.
It's just so, I've heard this take a lot. It's just so Star Warsy. It doesn't feel like a Marvel movie. It's
so bizarre. Just like these whole worlds in subatomic like particles.
It's not a heist movie like the first two, which I think is the weakest aspect. His friends aren't in this movie. I want to ask off the bat, how do you feel about Kang?
Kang, I didn't like him because the movie was that bad. And I'm not excited to see him in the Kang Dynasty, honestly.
Did you like Kang at all? Because I think Kang was I didn't love Kang. Like
what is his goal?
His goal is
To rule the world?
Yeah, to rule all the multiverses. Once we watch Loki, which hopefully we'll find a good time to finish Loki, you get to see a little bit more of Kang. You know, what's his deal about. But it's just kind of, I think he's cool in Quantumania, but it's stupid how Ant-Man takes him out at the end. Like, the big bad of the MCU, and then Ant-Man can take him on. Well, he gets help from Wasp, but Ant-Man and the Wasp can take on the new big bad of the MCU by themselves.
Well, I guess he's gonna grow as a character and like get stronger.
Well, I'm pretty sure they killed him off, and then we get that post-credit scene where we see 100 different Kangs and stuff.
Oh.
This movie.
So that's like a multiverse thing.
Yeah, it's.
I thought he just survived.
Yeah, no, he got pushed and he blew up, and whatever happened to him, he could be alive, but just this movie's so wacky. It's not funny like the first two Ant-Man movies. Paul Rudd is still great. I think a lot of the character choices in this movie are just weird. Like Scott's fine as usual, but Hank Pym is switched up. The Hank Pym's wife especially just is completely changed. Cassie is not a. How do you feel about Ant-Man's daughter in this movie?
I don't like her, and she's gonna be in the Young Avengers too. Right?
Yeah, they reference that in the Marvels, and then it's just there's a lot of bad in this movie. It's very forgettable. Just not much happens at all.
I would put this in F tier. You probably wouldn't.
I would lean more towards D tier, but I am fine. I want to give it a high F because I think it is better than Thor: The Dark World. And I think it's clearly better than Multiverse of Madness. There's some cool scenes in it. Like, I like when all the Ant-Mans, the scene with all the different Ant-Mans compiling. Like, there's cool visuals.
Did you like this better than Captain Marvel?
They're, like, about on the same level. If I had to choose, I think...
F tier is fine.
Yeah, F tier is fine. A high F tier.
All right.
Now,
that's good.
I'm excited to talk about this one.
Yes.
Guardians of the Galaxy, Volume 3. 3,
Give me a second. I'm sorry. Give me a second.
You're fine.
I gotta go back and look at
Guardians of the Galaxy, Volume 3 rating.
3, 2, 1, 9 out of 10.
9 out of 10, really?
That is the same rating I gave Guardians 1.
Is this your favorite Guardians movie?
Yes.
Really? I think this is clearly the weakest of the Guardians films. So I want to say that, Avi, you know this. When I first saw this film, I hated it. I was like an easy 5 out of 10. Much. It was easily in my probably bottom 10 MCU. I really disliked it.
And I was very excited to watch this because you kept saying, you might like this movie. I think you might like this movie.
And upon rewatch, very enjoyable. I liked it. The saddest thing about this movie is Guardians 3, I love the first. Guardians 2 is obviously my favorite MCU movie. I was so excited for this one, and when I saw it in theaters, I was so let down. And we were rewatching this movie, and I realized how full of shit I was. It's actually a really good movie. It was just so, I was like, I wish I could have experienced this when I first went to go see it in theaters, and I was really excited for it. I think I was just too hyped, though, because I don't know. Let me hear what you think about this movie.
So this movie made Rocket Raccoon my favorite character because
in the MCU,
not in the MCU. One of my favorite characters in the MCU.
Is he your favorite Guardian?
He's my favorite Guardian of all time, and I just love his story. And then it's just like
really good.
This whole story was all about you.
It's really good.
It's so good. The backstory, I felt like it was actually kind of planned because now rewatching Guardians, when we went to rewatch it, we saw 893
A9 P1
P13, and it was like, oh shit. I think the High Evolutionary was actually a good villain too.
Yeah, I don't think he was a great villain, but I thought he was good. Not top 5.
No,
maybe,
I like him a lot.
Maybe barely makes it in the top. I think he's definitely in the top 10. I think he's just a little bit too crazy, screamy. Like, he's kind of, he's the whole point of him is he's pure evil. There's no redeeming things about him. He's just kind of, I like him, but he's just like, not like, I personally think Ego is the best Guardians villain. I think Ego's a little bit better, but I like the High Evolutionary. How do you feel about the opening to this film? Where it's just you're introduced to all the Guardians, and then Adam Warlock comes in out of nowhere, and blast Rocket. How do you feel about all that?
It's kind of realistic because it's anything can really happen. You might not expect it to. It was kind of crazy, and Adam Warlock is set up from Guardians 2. I mean, not Guardians. Yeah, Guardians 2. And I didn't really notice him upon watching this because I didn't remember the post-credit scenes of Guardians.
He's
2.
not really in this. Adam Warlock really isn't in this movie at all. And in the comics, obviously, Infinity War, all that, he's really strong. And they make that dumb excuse of him coming out of the cocoon early. He's been in the cocoon since 2017. I think that's just really lazy. But that's not even the main issue. I'm more just mad that he doesn't do anything in this movie. But it's like I said with the first Guardians. The Guardians movies are about the Guardians. They don't need to focus on other characters. But I don't really like the open. I think it's definitely the weakest opening to any of the Guardians films because the first one, the Star-Lord opening's great. The Baby Groot opening's great. And then this opening sets a good tone for the movie, but I think it's the weakest of the 3. I think how Adam Warlock coming in out of nowhere when we just don't know anything, that's like, I just think it's so wacky and all over. It's like, what is this? And then I do like obviously all the Guardians together can probably take on Adam Warlock. But since he does come in out of nowhere, all the Guardians are scattered. And they actually, it's always stupid in movies when you see groups of people attacking somebody one by one and they're not attacking them as a team. And the opening, they don't even know what's going on. They're not together. So they actually have a reason for taking on Adam Warlock, one Guardian at a time. And they have a fine reason to losing to him. But other than the opening and some other scenes, he just doesn't do much. The Rocket backstory is obviously great. One of the best arcs in a Marvel movie. I don't want to... I gave this movie an 8 out of 10. It's almost kind of like an Endgame thing with me where it's like, I really love this movie, but there's just a lot of shit wrong with it. The Rocket... I feel like the Rocket backstory doesn't mix well at all with, like... There's so many character arcs they're trying to do in this movie. Like, they're trying to tell a little story with Peter. They're trying to give Mantis, Drax their own arcs. They're giving Mantis her own arc, Nebula her own arc, Kraglin and Cosmo their own arcs. And then getting Rocket flashbacks just throughout the middle of the movie kind of throws off the pacing for me a little bit. But the Rocket backstory is just so good, and you constantly want to see more of it. And
whenever it did throw off the pace, I was fine with it because I wanted to see more.
I think it definitely throws off the pacing a little bit, but it's just so good. It doesn't bother me too much. I think in Infinity War, since Gamora, I think Infinity War did a lot of things that made Guardians 3 turn out a little bit negative. Like, name one thing, name like the best thing about the first 2 movies that is just completely absent from this one.
Comedy mostly.
Well, no, I think this one's pretty funny. Drax has some great lines. I really like Gamora and Peter.
Probably the least funny because less of the memorable things from this movie was the comedy. The most memorable thing was the impactful stuff and emotionally impactful. But what was that again?
Gamora and Peter are like my favorite thing about I love how their relationship starts in the first movie and then it's great in the second one, and then it's just not. in this one, and I think that's I think that's a really weak part. This one, Gamora is. I don't really. How do you feel about Gamora in this movie?
She's kind of an issue, but it's not terrible. I understand. It's sad seeing Peter with, the experience he had with Gamora, and seeing Gamora just completely not really care about Peter that much. And towards the end, they kind of become friends.
Yeah,
but
and she comes around by the end, but a little bit. But it's just, I don't really like how they did with her, and it's by the end she comes around. And in the first two films, you get their relationship the whole time, and it's just so good.
How do you feel about this being the end of
That's
the Guardians?
It doesn't feel like an ending of a trilogy. It just feels like kind of another fun Guardians adventure. It doesn't feel like an ending to these characters. It's obviously not an ending for Star-Lord because they show he's going to come back at the end. I like Drax just waving away at Mantis for her finale, but I just feel like just Drax waving away and Mantis leaving is how her character ends. Like, yeah, it's sweet. And then obviously I love Drax finally dancing at the end. Just the dancing. I gotta ask, how do you feel about the dance party at the end of the movie?
It's good too.
One of my favorite scenes in the MCU. It is amazing. It does kind of suck Peter isn't there dancing with them all at the end, but he is on Earth doing his own thing. And another little this is more of a nitpick. In Endgame, Peter is at Tony Stark's funeral, and then Peter hasn't been in the first two Guardians. It's like kind of points out that Peter hasn't been to Earth literally his whole life because of what happened with his mom and stuff. And then he's just kind of there in Endgame. And then in Guardians 3, it's just...
He was probably just there real quick.
Yeah, and obviously you got to have him there for Iron Man's funeral. So that's just more of like a nitpick than an actual issue. But I feel like it's a fine... I like how they left it off to where you can bring the characters back, but I feel like they should have tried to go for like a stronger actual ending with these characters. How do you feel about them not killing off anybody?
I actually expected Peter Quill to die. It really looked like he was going to die.
Yeah, the fake out, when I first watched this movie, I really hated the fake out deaths because there's a few of them in this movie. But rewatching it, it's like when Peter Quill was like you said, like I thought Peter Quill was gonna die too, and just the way it made me feel of just like making me think they were really gonna die, I thought it did really good in that aspect with the fake out deaths. There's just a lot of great stuff in this movie. We've got, besides No Way Home, the last few movies have been pretty mid or bad. And then we get movies like Guardians 3 where, Marvel can still come out with a good movie and every now and then. I think it's crazy that you think it's better than the first two. Definitely not better than the first one.
I think it's on par with the first one, honestly.
And obviously I'm biased towards the second one because it is my favorite MCU movie of all time. I love this movie. Rocket backstory is great. Adam Warlock's underutilized. High Evolutionary's fine. I love a lot of stuff in this movie. I dislike a lot of stuff in this movie, but it's just so fun. How do you feel about the hallway fight scene?
Be more specific.
People are gonna hate that. People are gonna be mad at you for that. You don't remember the action sequence at the end where they're all in the hallway? Dude, come on. There's no way. The fight scene at the end where they're all in the hallway and... How do you not remember? The one of the coolest action scenes in the MCU. The whole hallway scene where Nebula's getting her neck cracked and she's flipping up. Drax is throwing people at the wall. Peter's barrel rolling, shooting his arrow. They're You're really pissing. Like, you're sitting here this is really pissing me off. There's no way. Like, you not remembering some
Bro,
shit.
chill the out. I just don't remember one scene.
No, this is where you... No, this
bro,
is
I'm
not,
sorry.
No,
I've forgotten so many things, bro. Just chill the out.
This is an epic...
It's not that serious.
No,
it's a
is
movie,
that
bro.
serious. This is an epic final Guardian scene. You get one of the coolest action sequences in the MCU, and you literally have no idea what I'm talking about. You don't remember the No Sleep Till Brooklyn. They have that song playing in the back, and...
Where does this take place? In what vehicle?
The
And what?
third, Rocket literally says like Rocket, like Peter Quill's talking to Rocket, and Rocket's like, "I'm done running," and then they do that cool walking sequence together. Drax opens the door, and then they get it's one steady shot of following them through all them killing these. They, it, that's unbelievable. You don't remember that that's I don't even want to talk about that anymore. We need to move on because that's just ridiculous. Yeah, that's crazy. You think it's the best MCU film and you don't even remember shit from it.
Yeah, you, bro. You. You. Oh
What?
my god.
No, it is one of the best.
Christ,
One of the
bro,
best.
I'm sorry.
One of the
I'm
best.
sorry.
One of the best. It's so good, so good. A tier.
A tier above. Where would you?
I would put it only above Doctor Strange, but I'm fine to meet in the middle. Yeah, right above Guardians 2. That's fine. The final movie in Phase 5, The Marvels. You ready? Mm-hmm. The Marvels rating.
Marvels.
3.
Oh, what? It's too low.
Ooh. You need a second to think?
Yeah, okay.
You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
The Marvels 3, 2,
1,
1,
5
4
out
out
of
of 10. You're a little bit higher on the.
Yeah.
That's 1 point of.
Yeah, I know. After thinking about it more, I think it's not that bad.
Yeah, and I gave. I might need to move it up to like a 5 out of 10. Yeah, because that's this 4 out of 10 is what I gave Captain. Maybe I just need to lower Captain Marvel. I think this is not a major improvement. I think it's better than Captain Marvel. It's literally everything that Captain Marvel isn't. Like, it's colorful, it's fun, it's a little bit memorable. It actually has characters you care for. Captain Marvel's a little bit better in that movie. We just did a whole review on this, so obviously we're freshly know each other's opinions. I thought Kamala Khan, Miss Marvel, was great. Easily the best part of that movie. Do you have any major positives or negatives?
So yeah, it was an improvement from Captain Marvel. Yeah, I like. Like you said, Kamala was probably the best out of the three. Positives, I would say it's action's not bad. Action's actually pretty decent. Not as great as some other movies, but it's not bad.
It's not bad, but it's not great. Villain, obviously, probably
Worst
for
villain,
one of my worst
definitely.
villains in the MCU.
Terrible villain. Captain Marvel isn't that great.
Monica Rambeau isn't that great.
What was that dynamic with Monica and Rambeau that they were doing that they completely dropped? And they just didn't explain too well. They didn't really do anything with it.
This is a filler movie. Like, there's not much character development in this movie. I guess kind of for Miss Marvel. It's not that funny. There's some kind of stuff in there that'll make you chuckle, but for the most part, the comedy doesn't really work.
A lot of people were complaining about Nick Fury, which I see.
I like Nick Fury. I don't think he was necessarily funny, but I didn't think he was bad. I think he does get some funny jokes, like when he's telling that guy that don't stop praying whenever like this ship is going down or something. But it's not that great. Most recent MCU, definitely not what Marvel needs right now at all. This is like the last movie they need right now, especially because nowadays people are like shitting on Marvel for all these bad movies. Sucks that we're ending off with such a mediocre movie, but yeah, The Marvels was not that great. I would lean. Guess we should put this in D tier.
Yeah, D tier. It's above Captain Marvel, so
a D tier above Iron Man 2.
That's good. Yeah.
D tier above Iron Man 2.
I put it above Eternals, but that's it. Yeah. That's fair. Oops.
This
is our completed.
This is a little bit weird shape. Not exactly very weird. A bell curve going, but
it's okay. We don't need a bell curve.
I think do we need to change anything? Infinity War, Avengers, Winter Soldier, No Way Home, I think all clear S's. Guardians, Ragnarok, I think I would probably move Guardians 3 down to a B, but A is fine. I would move Iron Man 3 up to an A, maybe Doctor Strange down, maybe not. I think Ant-Man, yeah. I think this is pretty good. Doctor Strange, obviously the worst. Dark World, Quantumania is terrible. Should we move down? Nah, I don't think Captain Marvel's F tier. Obviously, if it was my own list, there would be a few things I changed around. But for the most part, I think this is really solid.
Yeah, I think that's a good ranking. This is the official Critical Crew.
The Critical Crew rating. The factual MCU, the
ranking.
only correct MCU ranking on the internet, some might say. You ready? So I know I don't know how you would rank all the phases in order, but it's easily Phase 3, Phase 2, Phase 1, Phase 4, and Phase 5. Phase 5 is the lowest because we haven't gotten much anything yet. Phase 4 is obviously too much movies that aren't
Phase
that
3
great.
is obviously the best because we
Phase
have
3 is-
Infinity War, Endgame, Civil War, all that amazingness. And then
Phase 2,
Phase
we get
2,
movies like Winter
high and
Soldier,
lows.
Guardians of the Galaxy, Ant-Man. And then Phase 1, Avengers, Iron Man, the first Avenger. And then Phase 4 is No Way Home, and that's about it. Are you ready to rank these movies from worst to best in order per each other's list? You go first. So this is Ryan's list of every MC. You want to do least best or worst to best?
uh,
I think.
Sure.
Yeah. All right.
Sure.
So your list, worst to best. Let's hear it.
all right, so there's 4 categories here.
Okay.
We're doing the 4 categories. The first category, which would be the top, I'm starting at the lowest, is the movies I love or the movies I love or like. The second category is flawed but fun. And then the third category is mid but not terrible. And then the last is bottom of the barrel, dog shit.
Interesting.
All right,
Let's hear it.
Starting off at 4, bottom of the barrel, dog shit. At the bottom, Multiverse of Madness, Thor: The Dark World, Quantumania, Ant-Man Quantumania, Iron Man 2, then Captain Marvel, then Eternals.
Slow, but it's
for bottom of the barrel dog shit.
wow.
And then moving on to number 3, category 3, mid but not terrible. We have Black Widow, then Thor, The Marvels, Thor: Love and Thunder, Age of Ultron, Hulk, and then Homecoming. Next, moving on to category 2, flawed but fun, we have Wakanda Forever, Shang-Chi,
Yeah, Shang-Chi being that high is ridiculous.
Black Panther,
That movie is only flawed, not fun.
Black Panther, Iron Man 3, Ant-Man and the Wasp, and
You think Ant-Man and the Wasp is better than Iron Man 3?
no, I don't know why that's there. Ant-Man and the Wasp, then Iron Man 3. Actually, that's worse than Black Panther too. That's probably worse than Shang-Chi too. Wakanda Forever, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Shang-Chi, Black Panther, Iron Man 3, and then Far From Home.
Okay.
This list is kind of strange. All right, so now the first category, movies I love or like: Ant-Man, Avengers Endgame, Captain America: the First Avenger, Iron Man, Doctor Strange, Captain America: Civil War, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, Avengers, Spider-Man: No Way Home, Thor: Ragnarok, Captain America: Winter Soldier, and then Infinity War.
Did you even
number
have
1.
Guardians 2 on your list?
No.
Why isn't Guardians? I hope you're not missing any other movies. I think Guardians 2 is the only one I didn't hear.
Yeah, okay. So I would put Guardians to between Iron Man and the First Avenger.
It's fine. Captain America, the First Avenger.
Yeah.
So what's your top 5?
Top 5 is Infinity War at number 1, Captain America: Winter Soldier, then Thor: Ragnarok, Spider-Man: No Way Home, and Avengers.
Nice. And then
Right.
Civil War 6.
Mm-hmm.
Good list. I I don't really like how high you have Shang-Chi and you have Eternals a little bit too low. But other than that, I think that is a pretty fair and accurate list. Starting from the bottom, with the bottom of the barrel dog shit, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, then Thor the Dark World, Thor, Captain Marvel, Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, Shang-Chi, Black Panther, The Marvels, Iron Man 2, Spider-Man Home. Well, okay. Shang-Chi, then Black Panther is all bottom of the barrel. That Doctor Strange the Multiverse of Madness to Black Panther is bottom of the barrel dog shit. Then we move on to our mid but not terrible movies. The Marvels, Iron Man 2, Spider-Man Homecoming, Thor Love and Thunder, and The Incredible Hulk. And then we moved on to our flawed but fun category. Black Widow, Eternals, Iron Man, Wakanda Forever, Avengers Age of Ultron, Spider-Man Far From Home, and Ant-Man and the Wasp. And then we move on to the movies I love or like. Captain America, the First Avenger, Avengers Endgame, Doctor Strange, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, and moving into the top 10, Iron Man 3, Ant-Man, Thor Ragnarok, Guardians of the Galaxy, Spider-Man No Way Home. Then the top 5, Captain America, the Winter Soldier, Infinity War, Civil War, The Avengers, and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
I think it's criminal that you have Shang-Chi and Black Panther in bottom of the barrel dog shit. Something's wrong in your head for that take.
Those movies just are not great. But you have fine reasons for liking them. I guess I can't blame you. But I feel like that was a good episode. I feel like we had some pretty good lists. I like the tier list we have going here. I like your list. I like my list. We had some pretty good ratings. How do you feel about the MCU, just in general?
The MCU is really good. I'm going to keep following this series. Hopefully it gets good. I'm worried for it. I'm sad that I didn't get to experience it in its peak and that I never cared for it back when Infinity War was coming out. But great series. I love it. I'm going to get posters of all the movies. And
you know what makes me sad?
What?
You not remembering one of the best action sequences in the Marvel movies.
I'm sorry, man. I don't know why. I don't know what's wrong with me.
We'll rewatch it.
It's more of the feeling that I remember having from the movie.
The feeling I get during watching that scene is crazy.
Listen, I remember the feelings, but I don't remember sometimes I forget the scenes exactly. But usually if you tell me, oh, remember this scene where they do this and they're in here.
I was very specific.
Yeah, I know. I'm surprised. I don't. Okay, I remember Rocket saying, "I'm
done running."
I'm done running. I remember that.
Drax burst open the door, and then we'll have to watch it. But I hope you guys. This was the MCU episode. We've had a lot of fun. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let us know your guys' list takes in the comments below. Let us know how you felt about our takes. Make sure you check out our TikToks, Spotify's, Letterboxd's, other main YouTube channel, all of that in the description below.
This was a long episode. It is 11:27. We started recording at like 8.
Wow. Well, it's going to be a long night.
Yeah.
Obviously, I respect your opinions a lot, and even though there is some stuff we disagree upon, I think you had, I know a lot of, one of our friends have really bad takes on a lot of these movies. I'm glad we agreed on most of these. Of course, I really like your top 5. I think Civil War should be in your top 5 for sure, but it's 6, so that's fine. I'm glad you really like the Avengers. The movie's great. It's just, the MCU has a lot of bad, but the good is really good.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to say?
No. That's pretty much it. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode, especially if you watch it to the end. It's a long episode.
Very long.
We've been working on this for a long time. A video should be coming
on the main
soon
channel.
About the MCU and me watching it for the first time ever. Excited to make that.
Fully edited video on ranking every Marvel movie, so that'll be fun.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll see you guys.
We're gonna go to sleep. We're gonna see you guys next episode. And I'm Ryan. This is Jayden.
Yep.
and
See you in
we'll
the
see you
next
on
one.
the next episode.
Bye.
Goodbye.